Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Kathleen Dayan coming on. She is the author of Before We Were Born. It is a fictional book, but it's a fictional book based off of her experiences in mediumship, searching her soul in meditation, and looking at her own visions of past lives. It's about two people who, I think the story begins with them in the afterworld deciding what life they're going to choose. It's all about a love story and reincarnation. And we were just talking about reincarnation a lot last Sunday. We talk about it a lot on the show. It's a personal belief of mine from my own experiences in reincarnation. So I am really happy to have Kathleen on the show tonight. We will have her on after the World Wide Web of Weird, of course, after the commercial break. And then later in the show, of course, we'll take your phone calls. If you want to call in tonight, if you've had your own past life experience or vision of a past life, I'd love to hear it. I think it's one of the most interesting aspects of spirituality and experiences people have is past lives. I've had enough to convince me it's real. And what does that mean for everything? You know, what if we actually all believed in past lives? I think it would change the world completely. We need a lot of change, right? We need some quick change right now. These are going nuts in the world. Of course, like I said, I got a lot of weird in the World Wide Web of Weird. We will take your phone calls later in the show. We got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest, Kathleen Dayan, will be on after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. Joining me, as always, like we got her tonight, Rob, not feeling well. I hope you feel better, buddy. But we do have Jamie with us tonight. How you doing tonight, Jamie? Hopefully. I think it... Yeah, you froze up, of course, right when we live. It's got you frozen like in a picture on your phone. There you are. There you go. Now you're unfrozen.
Turn the Wi-Fi off on my phone.
Yep, I figured. Well, yeah, Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you can stick around. Internet issues aside, we can keep you here for the conversation because I know you're going to really enjoy this guest tonight. And like I said, there's a lot of weird going on in the world. I mean, a lot of bad stuff going in the world. Talk about bank collapses and, Ukraine war and all that stuff. If you want to take your mind off of it, we can always just look at all the weird, crazy stuff going on. That's why every Sunday night we do the World Wide Web of Weird. And I want to remind people, if you can help support the show, we do have YouTube's Super Chat on here. You can always donate through there. And we are on Patreon. You can help donate. It helps pay the bills because things are about to get tight financially. Maybe you can't help because things will get tight financially for you. I don't know. The world's gone crazy, and there's always weird to talk about. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, if you needed something weird, we always seem to have at least every other month, and we got another one, and I cover these because it amazes me that these things happen in around the world. I'm just waiting for it to happen here in America. I don't know if maybe it has, but we always cover these, and they seem to be a lot of times in South America or in the Philippines. Is 28 schoolgirls hospitalized after playing with a Ouija board? Yes, we got another one of those. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network on Talkstream, we are a live webcast. We stream out live every Sunday night to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can watch or just listen, and I'll narrate as best as possible. Of course, tonight, Rob's not feeling well. We don't have Rob, so I have to do the whole share screen thing, which I'm totally already forgetting. So give me a second. Bear with me. All right, here we go. I am really slow on this. She could have had it. There we go. All right. Share screen. There we go. Okay. And then let's get to the first article. All right. And I got the shorter version of this from Tim Binnell from Coast to Coast. This is the original article. 28 girls hospitalized after using Ouija board at school. Bizarre incident at school in Colombia saw a staggering 28 girls require hospitalization, and some parents contend that a Ouija board is to blame. The weird case reportedly occurred last month in the town of Glarus when the students suddenly began inexplicably fainting and exhibiting various symptoms related to anxiety. The curious condition seemingly swept through the school and ultimately led to the affected girls being taken to the hospital for treatment. In a search for answers as to what could have caused the unsettling event, an unlikely suspect emerged as several parents suggest that the girls had all fallen ill after playing with the Ouija board. It is uncertain if these claims are genuine or merely the result of rumors spreading throughout the community. To that end, the head of the school seemingly tried to squash the supernatural suspicions by way of video message wherein he laminated that following the odd outbreak, a series of comments were unleashed on the community that rather than helping to resolve the situation led to confusion and adverse environment for our work. Strangely enough, this is not the first time the Ouija board has been blamed for causing Colombian school children to become sick, as an eerily similar case occurred last November, which we covered, when nearby a dozen students' class after they were said to have played with the infamous device. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what I have said a couple times when we've had these stories, is that when are maybe these kids start catching on and just, like everybody, we want a Ouija board day off, and all the kids just decide to go crazy and blame it on a Ouija board, and they get to close the school down for a day or two. I'm just saying, don't put it past the kids to think about doing that. That's just saying.
One of my first thoughts.
I mean, and it's happened in Colombia several times, not just one time in November. I think we've had a couple stories in Colombia. So it could become the newest craze, right?
Yep, a new TikTok trend.
Right. I mean, TikTok could be, as I said, I'm waiting, Jamie, for it to happen in America. Waiting. I don't know if our kids are inventive enough.
It'll happen.
Maybe.
Well, they're too busy playing Kool-Aid and running through people's fences.
You know what? They don't have to. They get plenty of days off here. I remember we've been griping about it. Like, here you'd have to have like 10 feet of snow to get the school canceled. Now you get like a couple snowflakes. Oh, cancel school because they got e-learning. So these kids don't even have to.
No.
Oh, well, all right, let's move on. All right, I thought this was a cool story. And again, this is original article from Staffordshire.live. It's a lot longer, so I went with the Tim Binnell article from Coast to Coast to shorten it up for time's sake. The terrifying ghost train reported in Swaddling-County, I don't know how you say that, by 2 police officers. In a spooky story out of England, a pair of police officers say they heard a phantom train pass their station, where they later learned that a railway once existed long ago. According to a local media report, the one I got up here, the area incident occurred last week in the town of Swaddling-County. I don't know how you say that at all. As Constable Joe Stafford and Whitney Holmes Small were set to commence their work patrolling the community. To their profound surprise, the duo suddenly heard the unmistakable sound of a locomotive approaching the police station. As the noise grew closer, their confusion was compounded when leaves on the nearby trees began to sway and the air felt like it was being moved by an unseen force. Amazingly, the pair came to claim that the noise from the proverbial ghost train went right past the station, and the sound appeared to fade into the distance. The phantom locomotive even tooted its horn. Understandably bewildered by what they experienced, they looked into the history of the building and discovered that there had once been a railway that ran right next to the site. Remarkably, rather than keep the strange story a secret within their ranks, the police departments actually shared the officer's account on social media and asked if anyone else had previously encountered the phantom train, which would seem to suggest that the tale was a genuine report of ghostly activity on part of the 2 cops. And I love that the police department didn't try to cover it or laugh at these cops. They actually went and looked into the history, and they actually posted it on their social media. Bravo, bravo, bravo. That's awesome. And then my imagination goes wild. Is this, like, they say ghost train? Is this just like, they say the environment records events, and, this train would go through here all the time. It's just like, or is it what?
Is it residual?
Right, residual. Or is it a time slip? Me and time travel. It's, is it like time kind of merging, I don't know. I love these stories, though.
About that, too.
Yeah. But I thought that was pretty cool. And I think it's cool that they shared it.
I think so.
All right. Next up, we got some Bigfoot stuff. So this is, I think I got a couple. I might have put on. There's a video up. You can go to Coast to Coast, Bigfoot photograph a paranormal team in New Jersey. I just have the photo here. This is like my zoom in of it. Peculiar set of photographs taken by paranormal investigators in New Jersey show what they believe is a Bigfoot watching him from a distance. Witness operates a YouTube channel under the moniker of Man of Light, captured the curious image last month during a sojourn to what he calls a research area in the southern part of the state. As the expedition was coming to an end, he exited a thick patch of woods to an open pathway with some train tracks and noticed something unusual approximately 300 to 400 feet away from him. Zooming in on the oddity that he caught his attention, the witness snapped a handful of pictures which show what appears to be a dark figure standing at the edge of the forest. I felt uneasiness that I'd never felt before, the man recalled, claiming that I had my video camera ready to shoot, but the device simply wouldn't work, despite being fully charged. Similarly, the paranormal investigator asserted that the creature that knew he was taking pictures of it, and in turn utilized abilities to manipulate his camera so that some of the photos wound up being particularly blurry. Is this the reason, like everybody says, like about Bigfoot photos and UFOs and ghosts, but, why are they always so blurry? It's the Bigfoot's fault. He's just not photogenic. I'm not trying to be snide about that, because it's a possibility that if there's some supernatural aspect to Bigfoot that he could be affecting the pictures. Be that as it may, he managed to take multiple pictures of varying clarity featuring the dark figure that he suspects was Sasquatch. Concerned that the Bigfoot was seemingly coming right toward me in a possible threatening manner, the witness wisely walked away from the scene rather than wait for the creature to reach him. Having investigated the specific area several times, the Man of Light is of the opinion that there is some kind of portal at the location which allows for various creatures such as Sasquatch, Dogman, and others to enter and exit the forest. Given that the assessment along with the witnesses attributing the blurry nature of the photos to a supernatural ability possessed by Bigfoot, skeptics will undoubtedly dismiss the picture and the man's account as either an outright fabrication or a product of overactive imagination. I don't know. Does Bigfoot have the ability to blur the picture? It's possible we're talking about a supernatural entity. This was the original photo, I think. Here it is. Hold on. They did put them out of order. That was like the original photo. What were you going to say, Jamie? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, like, I don't know. I get running from a big hairy creature. This looks like a man in a suit just standing down there. It's hard to say. It's so blurry. I have my doubts. I'm not trying to say they faked stuff, but I mean, what else can you say about it? Maybe don't run.
Like a girl standing there. But how did they blur
Yeah.
it out? They just didn't focus in on it.
I guess. He's saying that the Bigfoot has affected his equipment, that his video camera wouldn't work. And it's not the first person who said this in this kind of situation, that Bigfoot affected their equipment, video camera would work. It's like the alien thing. Is there a paranormal aspect to Bigfoot that he can mess with your video camera? Possible.
But Bigfoot also doesn't typically stand out in the open like that. And
usually, the king of hide and seek doesn't just try to jump on a rail car and stand out there by
ready for a photo op posed against a tree.
Hello, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be too cynical about it. I just, go back and find the footprints where he was standing. Like, give me some more. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. I can't tell you if that's really Bigfoot or not. All right, next up. Hold on. All right, this is cool. This is a really cool one. All right, I better stop. All right, hold on before I run out of time. Okay, all right. So I saw this one, and again, this is another one. I got a short article like Coast to Coast AM on this. Is eerie figure filmed in the tunnels beneath the notorious haunted castle in Wales. A Welsh woman was left scratching her head when she filmed what appeared to be a ghostly figure in the tunnels beneath the notorious haunted castle. Spooky footage, which can be seen you get it on Coast to Coast. They have a link to it there. Captured by Emily Price last month as she and her husband were touring the country's iconic Cardiff Castle. While walking through the tunnels, which served as a shelter from air raids during World War II, she noticed that a speaker was playing a legendary speech by Neville Chamberlain, wherein he announces the Britain's entry into the conflict. Finding the moment particularly poignant, she pulled out her cell phone and began filming, but soon spotted something peculiar ahead of her in the adjoining passageway. It looked like a woman with no face, she later recalled observing what the figure appeared to be, wearing a gray and white dress. Intrigued by what she had just seen, Price and her husband ventured to where the mysterious stranger had been, but found that the tunnel was completely empty. After exiting the underground area of the castle, they were doubly confounded when they saw no sign of any individual dressed in that manner that could account for the curious figure's appearance. Now, okay, so you're going to see like the Twitter post here in the video. I do a zoom in and more of a zoom in. It's really interesting. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play it. You can see it, Jamie?
Yeah, it looks good.
You can see like I know not the best quality here, but you can see there's like something moving down there. She said with her eyes, she's saying she could see a woman in a white dress, no face. The eyes are much better than the camera, and that's what she saw, okay? But you're not going to see that totally, but what you do see is some kind of phantom-like figure. All right, give it a second here. I'm going to do the zoom in, and it's going to replay. All right, here we go. Now watch this. I don't have the audio playing from it. I don't want to play the audio. I don't know if I get a strike for it. See that? See that? It's like a figure walks out, and it's like head is glowing, and then it turns and walks, and the last thing that disappears is the head. See that?
Oh, whoa. Whoa. It almost turned into an orb and left.
I tried one more. Grainy zoom in. It's Bigfoot's fault.
It looks like it disappears into an orb and then goes away.
Yeah. I thought that was really
if you're
awesome
wearing
footage.
If you're wearing black in an IR, sometimes it'll shine up like white like that. But the fact that the head of it looked so bright and it almost radiated the light, emitted the light like an orb does, like it sucked all the energy back up and then...
It's like it was almost a human form at one point. It was like trying to human form that, like...
That's what it looks like. You almost got it actually shaping.
Yeah, and then like it changes just to the head and the orb. I don't know. I thought that was really cool footage from Emily Price from a castle in Cardiff.
You can almost see it pulsate as it goes away.
Mm-hmm. What time we got? Oh, we got time.
This is a cool one.
Yeah. I thought this was really cool. I don't think it's shenanigans of any kind. I think
I don't know how they would do
somebody caught. Yeah, I think they got something really, really good there. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen some really good ghost footage like that. All right, moving on. All right, so this next one, I got some beef with unexplained mysteries here. Steven Spielberg came out with some comments lately on a lot of things, but he also talked about UFOs and cover-ups. He also believes aliens are possibly from the future. I thought that was interesting. Steven Spielberg is certainly no stranger to making movies about aliens, given that some of his most famous and beloved films included 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1982's E.T., and 2005's War of the Worlds remake. And don't forget the great miniseries Taken. Everybody forgets about Taken. I love that miniseries. He did that. It's all about alien abduction and military cover-up, Roswell, all that. They don't include that, of course. It certainly would be a stretch to assume that the 76-year-old has at least a passing interest in the subject himself, and this is something touched upon during a recent appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I can't stand Colbert, but whatever. And particularly comment on the fact that a lot of information about the topic was being covered up by the government. This is what he said. I think the secrecy that is surrounding all these sightings and the lack of transparency until the Freedom of Information Act compels certain materials to be released publicly. I think that there is something going on that simply needs extraordinary due diligence, he said. He also remarked about the recent release of U.S. Navy footage of UAPs and the revelation that more than 100 sightings of investigated by, make that like 500 now, Pentagon UFO office did not have an explanation. I think it has been coming out recently is fascinating, just absolutely fascinating, he said. I would like to hear more about it. I don't know what they are. And then he does espouse in another interview, I don't think it was on the Colbert Show, that he thought, there is a possibility they could be from the future. I thought that too. That. Oh, I have. It's been done in movies too. I mean, I've seen it covered, and the idea of the aliens are actually just future versions of us, maybe future parallel versions of us, which is scary. I don't know if I want humanity to look like that, but go back in time and abduct ourselves. I don't know. But Taken, they don't mention Taken by Steven Spielberg, which covers like the whole abduction and UFO cover up and all that. Like E.T.'s great, and I'll share your phone home.
I'm gonna have to watch it now. You've sold me on it.
How many years did it take to sell you on it? How many times have I mentioned it? But yeah, it's Taken, people, by Steven Spielberg. It's like the less known thing he's ever done, and it's like so big, like it's so like you can tell the man is super heavily invested in the idea of aliens and is super interested. He's talking about. He hasn't done interviews like this in a long time, and he, of course, is talking about aliens. The man's definitely interested. Maybe people think he has knowledge. People think a lot of things about Steven Spielberg.
Wonder, like, does he know something, and that's why he's putting these out? Because a lot of these are coming true.
Well, think about Spielberg, how he changed the face of aliens in Hollywood. I mean, at the same time he was doing all that, we had aliens come out where they're all killing people. That's your typical 1950s kind of aliens. But Steven Spielberg's aliens, Close Encounters, E.T., they're benevolent and, glowing fingers and take me home, and they're nice, and, maybe he was purposely trying to influence to think that aliens might be nice. So they can come here and eat us all.
Who did Harry and the Hendersons?
I don't know. I don't know who did Harry and the Hendersons.
I was just thinking because they made Bigfoot nice in that.
Yeah. I don't know who did that. Love that movie, though. Okay, we got to move on here. All right, where are we at? All right, UFO cover-up in Iraq. Another picture's come out from, let me get the picture up. Hold on. Oh, not Iraq. Yes, over Iraq. All right, grainy black and white image. Blame the aliens for that right now. What appears to be a thin cylindrical object flying over the city of Baghdad. According to reports, the object, which was once since been dubbed the Baghdad Phantom, was captured on camera in Iraq capital by a U.S. Reaper drone back in May of 2022. It is allegedly classed as a UAP by the U.S. Air Force due to its peculiar characteristics such as the lack of wings or any obvious means of propulsion. The images were made public after being leaked to journalists Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. What George and I have uncovered is a Reaper drone footage of over an active war zone. It shows an anomalous object which has been designated as a UAP by our own Air Force. The object appears to have no flight control surfaces, no traditional reactionary propulsion, and is cooler than its surrounding environment. That's what I was going to, you look at it, it's black. This is all infrared. So this thing's got to be very cold to be showing up like that. If it was hot, it'd be white. And none of it makes sense. You'd be able to see the propulsion if it was some kind of rocket. Well, when they do the whole hearings and they say this is the footage, they have footage like this. They have this stuff. This was over Warzone. It's all classified. Jeremy Corbell, God love him, and George Knapp got their hands on this footage. There's so much more. There's so much more.
100%.
And on to our last one. Congressman claims alien tech is secretly being reverse engineered by U.S. government. Now, this is not new for this congressman. Who was it? It's Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. This is the article says, certainly no stranger making out their claims about UFOs and aliens, but I think he's going to be the beginning of many to start coming out. Speaking during a recent interview with Newsweek, Burchett stated that he believed the U.S. government had recovered a craft at some point and possibly beings. I think a lot of that's being reverse engineered right now, but we just don't understand it, he said. His claims follow on a form of comments he made back in January after Pentagon Office of the Director of National Intelligence released its long-awaited report on UFOs. This is what he had said. This thing is a huge cover-up for whatever reason, and I just feel like America's ready. We need to know and stop with all the shenanigans. I'm a good, shenanigans. You got it. It's shenanigans. If you were a human to make the turns that these have made in the footage, you would literally be turned into a ketchup package. I mean, you would be gone. It's not showing a vapor trail. It's something else out of this world. We've been covering this thing up since the 40s, since Roswell, or before then, I believe. And I believe, too. Now, are politicians actually going to get anywhere and do anything? No. He's not. He's not going to get anywhere with this. He gets some, attention, maybe, for making the comments. But they got this cover up pretty much well sealed up. And it has been for a long, long time. And I just covered last week how they're not even funding the new whatever. I don't even remember the anagrams. I keep changing the name of the UFO department. They're not even giving them hardly any funding to do anything. It's like Project Blue Book. It's a oh yes, we got our top people on it. Nothing to see here. Move along.
Now they just shut it down. They just straight sit up there and say like, nope.
Yeah. The only good thing that's come out of this is it's opened up the media more to talk about it. It's given more people to come out. I think that's the reason why Jeremy Corbell got his hands on this footage. It's getting military people going, hey, maybe I should give this to somebody. It's getting it more open. So that's the good side of it. Bad side is that they can use it to kind of stop the snowball effect of as things start to happen. Like, I think the whole balloon thing was to get people to look up sky. Oh, it's probably a balloon.
I don't know. Too.
Everything
is for a reason, and it's usually not for our benefit really, but for theirs.
Yeah. Well, last week we had Wajid on, and he believes that aliens have a heavy interest in us here and are basically stopping us from destroying ourselves half the time. We're getting really close with things. So with things getting worse in Ukraine and chemical spills and everything just falling apart, maybe aliens will start showing themselves more in the sky.
Hey, listen, me and Christina and my mom have all had really trippy shadow experiences almost the same nights.
Recently?
I've had it all week, yeah. Even during the day where I'm sitting in the car, it's like something's trying to get my attention. And even Christina and my mom described the same thing.
I've had some weird experiences recently.
Within
open lines later. Call in.
Days.
Yeah, if you've had those experiences, share. I have. Me and Jamie will share our own tonight.
And Christina she was able to validate my stuff because I almost didn't even bring it up. But the other night it was so crazy. I'm like, okay, this is definitely a shadow thing. My mom sees it as a chat, described the same. I didn't tell her first. I asked her.
Huh. Well, something's going on. Something's
aliens looking at us because of the weather.
Or it's spirits coming through trying to warn us that you guys got to do something. You're screwing everything up. I don't know. Or trying to warn us, I don't know.
I Blake about it last night.
We got to talk about it. Well, if you're having these experiences, like we're kind of just Jamie's mentioned here, and I, said later we'll open up the phone lines in about an hour. Our guest tonight is Kathleen Dayan. She is the author of Before We Were Born. We're going to be talking about reincarnation, soul groups, her experiences as a medium. A lot to get to tonight. After the short commercial break, why is my music not playing? There we go. After the short commercial break, we will be back with our guest. And like I said, in an hour from now, we'll open up the phone lines. Join the conversation tonight. We'll be back with our guest, Kathleen Dayan, author of Before We Were Born.
Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The international chart-topping, Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS Ranger.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 555.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Kathleen Dayan. 10 years ago, Kathleen worked as a lawyer and wrote in her spare time. Some personal losses led her to a spiritual journal that ultimately resulted in her channeling the spirits of her loved ones and spirit guides and teachers. The information she received changed her perspective and her life, and she left the practice of law to write a novel based on the principles she had learned. That novel is Before We Were Born. It's a fictional tale that takes you on the journey of people choosing the lives to live together. You know, they start off on the other side and choosing their life together. And I've talked about my experiences, my past life visions I've had. But what I love about the concept of the book, and I haven't read it, but I will read this one because this is so up my alley of fiction I like to read, is when I saw my son, Liam, before he was born. I saw him. He looked 8, 9, 10 years old. He's 7 now, but it was him. I saw him many years before he was born, and he later on, when he was 3 years old, told my wife he chose us. And that's a hard concept for some people when they think about some parents out there that they chose their parents. Kathleen really beautifully, I think, gets into this as I'm reading the synopsis of this book. I can't wait to read it. It's Before We Were Born, and we got a lot to get to. We will open up the phone lines in the next part of the show, about an hour from now. If you want to call in, share your past life experiences. I've had my visions I've shared on the show. I want to hear yours. I feel like a lot of you in my chat room have had experiences or visions of your past lives. I'd love to hear about them tonight. And then also, if you want to talk about what Jamie brought up, and I didn't know, and I've had experiences, the shadow people experiences and weird stuff going on lately. If you had that, call in to later in the show tonight. Our guest is Kathleen Dayan. Let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. All right. Welcome to the show, Kathleen. It's an honor to have you on. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, doing great. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Usually I'd have the cover of your book up here. Rob does that for me. I don't have that tonight. It's a beautiful cover. I wish didn't have it tonight, darn it, up here. I'm sorry about that. Do you have a copy to show people the book?
Hold it up if you want.
Yes, please. I love that. I really want to read this book. Like I said, it's totally up my alley of fiction. I talk about, even in movies, and they should make a movie of your book. My favorite movies always have to do with the afterlife and like what dreams may come, you know, but there's not a lot. I mean, what dreams may come about the closest, it really gets into reincarnation, and it does not really until the end. And it's the Eastern version, not the Western version. I don't know if you've ever seen that version of what dreams may come. They have a whole like reincarnation thing at the end. And I was like, but this was never shown in the West. I saw the movie in the theater, and that was not the ending. You know, in the West, we are still catching up to the idea of reincarnation.
Yeah,
For you, I'd like you to tell the audience what brought you into this realm, this life, from being a lawyer to writing books about reincarnation, in fiction or not, but, you know, getting into these concepts. What led you down this path?
Well, over a process of time, I became a medium, and it started for me, primarily, I had lost a friend of mine. We were really close when I was a lot younger, and he died very suddenly. And I started thinking he was in my house. I started getting the sensation that I could feel him in my home. And he really had my attention. And it was a relationship I had with this guy. I hadn't talked to him in about 20 years. So there was like, I didn't realize how close we still were, or that connection was, until he passed 3 days after we talked, and just very unexpectedly. And for me, I realized, like, these connections we have to people, they don't, you're going through your life and you're living, I grew up and had my own kids and this and that. And, and you're going through your life and you're not realizing like how connected you still are to all the people you've shared different parts of your life with. And, I came to understand with this person that he came back in and he was trying to get my attention. And by going to some spiritualist churches initially to hear other mediums talk, and through the pursuit of mediumship on my own, I came to realize that I still had this really strong connection with this human, and it was a soul connection. Yeah. And that's one of the things that really shifted my perspective. Is, life is not, as neat and as linear as I thought it was. And the more that I developed as a medium, this was really it took a long time to be able to do this, but
Yeah.
I became able to hear clairaudiently. And then from there, it sort of merged into channeling. So that
Oh.
sometimes I would sort of hear I could hear
Yeah.
phrases in my mind, and I'd spit it out. I'd be saying, "Oh, it's this," and then the words would just start to flow out of my mouth. And this practice, I always have done this with my husband, and we both were really interested in these spiritual concepts. And so he was writing everything down as it came out of my mouth. And
That's
over,
awesome.
yeah, it really
I
was.
had that. I'm lucky to have that kind of marriage too. Like the first date I had with my wife, we started talking about paranormal stuff. You know, we're almost 19 years married here.
Yeah.
We are 19 years married. Shoot, don't tell her. But but I'm marrying you.
Yes, that we had the same thing. First night, we were talking about spiritual things.
Yeah.
And,
See.
yeah, 25 years later, we're coming up on our 25th, and yeah, wouldn't have it any other way. It's just nice to have that kind of it's a really deep kind of connection.
Exactly. I feel
Yeah.
very lucky to have it, like compared to I've seen, I'm not saying we're better than anybody else's relationship or anything like that, but I feel lucky to have the relationship I do with my wife. I couldn't imagine being in a marriage with somebody that I'd have all these thoughts and all these interests, and I couldn't talk openly with them about any of it without them going, "You're crazy,"
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of have to be on, the same wavelength.
It's interesting, also that your friend passed away, and then this kind of opened up this world to you. I've seen this with other mediums. I remember James Van Prague, I think his father died, and his mediumship suddenly started open. It's like sometimes some mediums come into this because a spirit, somebody crosses over, and that spirit on the other side is like, "Hey, you have this ability, and I need you right now, or you need to open up to this, or something."
Yeah, it's so interesting because this guy was extremely persistent in life. That was just part of his personality.
Yeah.
And he would have really dug this stuff, the whole spirit communication thing. And he's still persistent, and that's what happened. He kind of broke through, and I'm glad he did. I had had other losses. Like I'd lost my mom when I was younger, and then a few years before this friend died, one of my sisters passed. And so I was still grieving that. There was still a lot happening, in my own life, my own emotional life. And the fact that he sort of stepped in and was like, "Yeah, we are still connected. There was something. This is why you're."
It sounded like he was what, a childhood friend?
Yeah, through teenage years and into early 20s, And,
those are very important years if you
Yeah.
think about it. I think about these connections all the time, about people I was with and hanging out and came into my life at that time period. And it's such a tumultuous, emotional, growing mentally time in your life. And these people do shape you. And even if I don't talk to them now, they're hugely important to who I am.
I agree.
Did you
Yeah.
ever discuss with him when he was with you? Did you guys ever talk about if I pass before you, will you come back and try to talk to me, or I'm going to try to contact you if I go before you, or come up with little passwords or anything like that?
No, not way back then, but since he's the easiest person for me to channel. So when I was first learning to open up, he'd come in and it would just come through very easily for me.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, it's not, it's more of a struggle. But one of the things that he did say to me was, "Do you remember all those years ago? I told you, I knew you before. We knew each other." And he was telling me when it was. And we were in the van and we were talking, and I told you I knew you in a past life. And it's I can't put my finger on it. I can't say I exactly remember that, but it's oh, that sounds like something we would have talked about, just really interesting. But because he came through and talked about this, then I had other mediums say, "Oh, there's this guy with you, and you've been through different past lives with him," and just kind of verifying the same things that he said. But it also opened up just such a curiosity about the afterlife, but also other lives that we've lived, as well as the what I think of as the before life. Because
Right.
that's cool too, to think about.
The in between.
yeah, where were we before? I mean, there isn't a just, we pass over and, as I understand it now, it's like it's a shift out of, out of this body, out of the physical, but we continue, and the consciousness is the real part. That's who
Yeah.
we really are, and the consciousness just keeps on going. But the consciousness was there before it got here too, and so that's really interesting to me. Um, and so they talked to us a lot. It was not just this person. I eventually was able to communicate with my sister and with my mom and various people in my life, and which is like an unbelievable gift.
Right.
um, yeah, so we learned all kinds of things. I also, before I opened up as a medium, before I had these experiences, I had some past life little experiences. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And when I got sober, I was 26. And around that time, like 26,
Yeah.
27, 28, I started having these little like past life, little quick dreams right before I'd go to
Yeah.
sleep. And I didn't, it was hard for me to understand what that was at that time in my life. But now I know it was, I always had this ability, but the amount of alcohol and substances I put in my
Right.
body had just cut off that channel, so it was starting to leak out as I was getting sober and I'm getting clear and
Right.
it was
It's like,
coming. Yeah.
what were you seeing? I mean, what were some of the images like? What were you seeing past life wise? And I'm taking it you weren't asleep yet. You weren't dreaming. You're like start. It's like that part when your brain starts to go, "Oh," and you start seeing
That's
little
it.
things. Yeah.
That's the
What were
word.
we- what were some of the things you were seeing?
Um, I had a repetitive dream about being, I was in a car. This was back, I'm really bad at telling, time by cars and all that, but I'm going to say it was
Right.
maybe the 50s, something like that, 40s, 50s. And it was sort of like this, it was from an aerial perspective. I could see down into
Yeah.
this car, it was a convertible. And I was looking down, there was a woman riding in the car, and I had the awareness that it was me. And it was, this like country road, and I could hear music in the background. It was a parade, and I knew it was the 4th of July parade, but we were driving somehow out of town somewhere. And I had this awareness that, oh, this is when I pass. Like it was a car accident. And that was when I passed probably into the life that I am now. I mean, it was probably the last one
Right.
before now.
Wow. And I've talked about it on the show a bunch of times. I mean, I was a believer, I think, in past lives before I had my two different very heavy, lucid, very vivid, I shouldn't say lucid, but or vivid visions or dreams of two past lives. I just always felt that reincarnation made sense. And it
Hmm.
would make sense for things like deja vu and all these kind of things. So it was already a part of me, but I had in my 20s two very vivid dreams. One where I was a little black girl.
Yeah.
I was a slave, and my father was a slave master, a white person.
Uh,
The weird thing about this thing is I have the, and this wasn't like yours where it's like visions I'm having as I'm starting to fall asleep. I was fully asleep having a very vivid dream.
yeah.
And in it, he's arguing with my mother, who is this, black woman that I've had another dream about where she was like my spirit guide.
Uh,
So there's a lot of connections here. Somehow there's like this overview of it all. Like you're saying how you could see,
yeah.
above. Like I know I'm this little girl. I'm feeling her feelings, but it's me. But I'm her. It's a weird experience. But when he beats me to death with this broom-like handle or wooden stick, I'm feeling every blow in the dream, but I'm also like above it, like in horror
Yes.
slightly of seeing him just raining down upon my limp body. And then I wake up and it just in tears. I felt every emotion of that.
Yeah.
The other one, I was a Buddhist monk. I think a Buddhist monk. I would assume is somewhere I was Asian,
Mhm.
wearing black robes, and basically, I knew in this dream, the people are speaking a totally different language in the dream. It all made sense to me.
Yes.
And I had caught my temple master, I guess, or whatever, doing opium is what I'm guessing I was witnessing. And I went and ratted on them. And these soldiers show up at the temple and just start killing everyone. And I'm running through the jungle.
Wow.
And the last thing I see, again, it's like this overview. Like, I'm him, I'm there, I'm this person, feeling everything they're feeling. And I see these soldiers up on this ridge in the jungle above me with rifles, and it's boom, 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 boom. And I'm awake. Like, heart pounding and everything. And what I've thought about those over the years, because they were scarred, and like I can still picture those dreams. Like, most dreams you fade from your mind, these things don't.
I get it.
And I go thinking about these deeply. One, I kind of knew in the dream that the father that beat me as a little girl was my biological father on this existence. And he's somebody who didn't want anything to do with me.
Okay.
So that might explain that. Just an unsubconscious reason, like guilt in this lifetime. Right.
Okay.
I've thought about that. I also thought about why it makes me, I have like an inner like hot button of anybody having control or authority over anybody else. Even if I don't like that person, if they have somebody else that's abusing power above them,
right,
I will come to their defense, even if I don't like that person. It's just it's a hot button for me.
Yeah,
and my other thing is religion. I've never trusted religion, organized religion. I got really heavily into like studying Buddhism, but I would never join the Buddhist religion. Same with Christianity. I've studied that. I would never join it. Like, I've always been wired never to trust it and never join any kind of religious organization. If I was a Buddhist monk who discovered my teacher was full of crap, you're like, yeah, you're enlightened, you're high. That would explain my reasons for distrust in religion. It would explain like these things, these two visions I felt were gifts given to me.
Absolutely.
To explain why I'm wired the way I'm wired.
Yeah, and it's showing you, like, first of all, I think it's interesting that they were your passing. They were your
Both
passing.
were, yeah.
Yeah, and mine was that I described to you as well.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that that's part of what's coming out to show us. It's the soul, so that's like the distance, like when you're looking down on what's happening, or when you're, it's because it's not your brain, it's the soul. It's watching.
Right.
So it's the same us,
I'm sure you've heard people's near-death experiences. How many of them have you heard where they said right before the moment of death, or before they, of course they came back, but right before the moment of an accident or whatever? I mean, I know one guest we had on, he was in a car like you, and right before the accident, he's out of his body. So he hasn't been hit yet. Nothing's happened yet, but he's out of his body, seeing himself above, and then bam, car accident.
Okay.
I've heard these countless times.
Yes. Yeah, it's really very interesting. But definitely they're something to wake us up, when that happens. And it's just a reminder that we're so much more than we think we are.
Right. I think that's why I always loved having the near-death experiencers on, like the guest I told you saw himself being taken out, for people who have lost loved ones in tragic accidents. For them to hear these people's experience that have almost died, that they didn't feel pain. They were separated. They were just detached from it. They're just like, oh, wow, there's my body totally broken. Okay. To know that their loved one at that moment of tragedy didn't suffer, I think is a bit reassuring too.
It is. We have a friend who's really was a friend of my husband's. They were in a band together. And this guy was a really young guy when he passed. And when he started coming through and talking to us, he told us that, so he was in a car leaving a gig, and he hit a tree, fell asleep. And the way he put it to us was, I fell asleep in this world and woke up in the next. So it was like, almost like,
Yeah.
no explanation of the tragedy of that, other than it was just like, that's how I stepped over here.
That there's something watching us, ready to pull us out at the second before we would experience something completely hugely traumatic, maybe, hopefully,
Yeah.
That's the hope. And then the idea, I don't know for you, for the visions you had, but the two visions that I had was a realization that I could be this, I'm me, but I'm also this little black girl. It makes you start thinking about, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm this persona, Jason Bland, like, even before I ever did the show, I have my quirks, my personality, and the way I act, the way I do, but none of that's real.
Mm.
It's a persona.
Yes.
I'm also this little black girl. I'm also this Asian
Right,
monk. I'm like, I remember having that conversation with one of the friends from those early 17 to 23 years old periods that I don't talk to anymore. I still feel like he's so important to me, and we've lost touch. But I remember having a conversation with him. He was a Christian, and I would tell him I believe. And this is before I had my visions of past lives. Actually, maybe you know what? It was a conversation because I had the first one, where I was the Buddhist monk. Oh, no, not the Buddhist monk. That was the little black girl. And I was trying to tell him that he was making fun of me. And I was like, no, seriously, I had this vision. I remember this is where this conversation came up. And he just is like, what is reincarnation? Why would that be real? Because if you lose all your memories, then what's the point? Like, you're not, who are you then? I'm like, exactly, though. My explanation to him, and I still hold to it, is if you look at somebody who's had amnesia, if I were to knock you over the head Flintstone wise and you suddenly have amnesia while you have a bump on your head or something, you don't know who you are, you can't say your name, that, are you now not you?
Right.
Just because you can't access your memories?
Yeah,
And
you're
he's
right.
like, and I got him stopped. I won the argument, like in that, not totally. I mean, he was still a Christian and he still didn't believe in reincarnation, but he didn't have any counter to that. I said, your memories isn't you. That's part of you, but there's an inner higher part of you, a pure self, that none of those memories or none of that matters.
Yeah, the memories are history, really. I mean, they're just what our experiences have been. But those personas, like the persona that you are now, is going to travel with you into your next life. It's going to affect that. It's going to influence it, just like you're influenced now by the little girl, that you were.
Right, like how I'm wired.
Yeah, that's a part of you. And I think that's kind of how it works, that we carry these things forward as I think it's part of evolution. I think it's a spiritual
right.
Yeah.
Well, I always wonder what the end factor is. I mean, in Buddhism, they believe you go so many lifetimes until you reach a state of nirvana, that you can reach the enlightenment. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. I don't know what the end all game of it is. Sometimes I think it is cruel that we don't remember our past lives, because you're being affected by your past lives, I think, a lot, by these inner subconscious, like I was telling, I'm innerly wired for certain, beliefs, and it's all from the past life. I didn't know that till the visions, really. But we don't know how we're so much affected by these past lives down in our deep subconscious. I mean, even I've had Chris Lee on. He's a past life regression therapist, basically. Sure. And he takes people, like, you say have an ailment, he can help eliminate that ailment, not cure, eliminate, right? By taking you back into your past life, seeing what's causing that pain. Is it connected to a past life? And if it is, and you see it, then that ailment goes away. And he's had some amazing results with that. But then to me, that's almost cruel that we don't remember and we have ailments. Right. From things we and the only way we get rid of them is by remembering. Like, it's that seems like the Matrix is messed up or something. I don't know.
Like you're jumping through hoops for something. Yeah. I agree. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, do you espouse to any certain religion, or I
don't. I actually was raised Catholic, and the only thing I could say is, even whatever we're raised, like I don't follow any particular religion. I'm probably a little closer to Buddhist than anything else, just because of me too. My spirituality is more that, but I
don't buy into the whole thing either.
No, not all of it. And even like the Spiritualist Church is cool. I don't know if you've ever gone, but
I want to. Yeah. I'm so jealous when I have guests on there, like, are part of Spiritualist Church or go to Spiritualist Church. I live in Michigan City, Indiana. I don't have like a spirit. I've always been jealous of my Christian friends. I tell them, like, I don't have a faith or something I can go to and share with a community like you do. I'm jealous of you. I love that you do that. I would never take that from you. I never discount you. You have your beliefs. I have mine. I think what you have is beautiful. Right. This is my church on Sunday, right here, you know?
Yeah,
But I
it's
would
cool.
love to go to a spiritualist church. I've had guests on that are part of spiritualist church, and I'm not saying I would join it as a religion, but
Yeah.
it's the closest thing. I've had people say, when you talk about you should really go to spiritualist church, I'm like, no, I want to go.
Yeah. Well, you can, by Zoom. You can Zoom
Yeah.
in, because the church that we go to once in a while is they have the meetings on Zoom now, and they have the mediums on there and everything. But
I want the physical
know,
experience, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
I
always jealous of my church friends that get to go
Yeah.
and have a community of shared, like, thought and experience and go and
Feel the energy.
worship. Feel the energy, yeah.
it is
I
a
wanna,
nice thing. It's that, isn't it? Feel the
Yeah.
energy of the people. Yeah.
And for me, I'd like to go because a lot of it does get into like developing your mediumistic abilities. You
Yeah.
talk about we can get into your abilities tonight and that experience too, because I've had that. Just so you know how I do this show, I don't prearrange questions. I'm selfish and share my own experience.
No, it's cool. I love
Just
that.
because it's just like we just met and had a conversation. But I've had them. I'm not a medium or psychic, but I've had those enough of those experiences to know that it's real. Not just my own personal experiences, like hearing a little voice telling me all this information about somebody who was deceased. And like predict, knowing I've said there's people's names from holding the person's name from holding a photograph of them, and I didn't no idea what their name was, but I knew almost had their last name. I knew they hid World War II stuff in the house, like, this came out of nowhere, and that's how it has worked for me. And just recently, I don't know if I should say this because I did tell this person about my show, and if they're watching, this might be kind of weird, but I was getting my hair cut, and this, I don't know, you can talk about how it works for you, but lately this has been happening to me more and more, and I don't know what's going on. I get in personal contact with somebody, and I start having just stuff come through, and I don't know what to do with it. And I sometimes start talking to somebody, and like I did when I was getting my hair cut, she mentions my psoriasis. I have psoriasis, and her son, and then this floodgate opened about me getting into her son and his life. Like, I knew right away her son had big emotional problems, was totally... I even knew he was 25 before she told me he was 25. Like, it's like, how old is he? Like, I just started getting this information that he's really in a bad state, like depressed, nowhere to go. And I see a lot of this with a lot of young 25-year-olds in this country, sadly, know. And like, I felt this maternal instinct come in and tell me to tell her to, like, he needs to really, like, you're trying to give him medications and solve this problem, with antidepressants and stuff like this, that he really needs to look within. Like, he needs to really start not just blaming things and taking medications, but he needs to start going on a spiritual journey. I'm hearing somebody tell him to go to church. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And she comes in and she goes, my mother would love that, because she was always, go to church, get him to church before she passed away.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'm
what
like,
it was.
this is where it's coming from. Like, she was insistent. And I'm like, I'm not telling her to tell him to go to church. I'm telling him to look in spiritually.
Yes.
Yeah, look, that's all the best I can do, lady. Because I swear to God, I'm sitting here getting my hair cut, and I have this influence coming in.
Yeah.
I don't control these things, and it's been a long time since this has happened.
Okay.
This, when I was getting my hair cut, and I felt like so weird walking out of there. Like, I didn't tell her anything. I just like gave her like advice. And he's young. I've been a young 25-year-old male that needs direction.
Yes.
But I could feel this insistence and this compassion. I had so much. My heart broke for this woman. Like, I don't know her. She's a complete stranger. But I could picture her life. I could picture all these things going on. And she starts opening up to me, which I thought was weird, about her husband being a manic depressive, and like, I already knew that. Like there's so many. I don't know what to do with it, Kathleen.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a hard thing that to decide whether to pass on the information or not. That's one of the things that I had struggled with early on is, who do you, where is the line? Where's the boundary?
Right.
Is it like, where is it okay? I try to follow my gut on it, and if I think somebody really needs it and I have something I can give them, I'll do it. But
I felt like I was tricked into this one. I really do. Like, she brought up the psoriasis thing, and then it's like, oh, and I've connected with her and her son on that, and then something just jumped in, which I think was her mother, and got me to start talking. And like I said, I felt like I was tricked into this one. Like, like I started to realize all this stuff's coming to mind. Like, why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Like this,
Yeah.
you shouldn't delve into somebody's life. You don't know this woman. And I had to think about it. And I'm like, oh,
But I bet it helped her though, Jason, to hear
I hope
those.
so.
It sounds like she needed someone to talk to about it.
Yeah, I hope so, because my heart did break for this woman.
Yeah.
It's hard to raise children in this society.
Yeah.
And he's 25, living at home, no job.
Yeah.
And most people are like, what a loser. You know what? Don't judge somebody. You don't know what that kid's gone through.
Yeah,
You don't know what all these kids are going through. And I call them 25 is. I know that they're an adult. They're adult. He should have a job. I agree with everybody on that. But
We don't know what everybody's going through right now.
right. And we have so many screwed up, mentally unstable people right now, I feel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you can blame COVID, you can blame a lot of things, but it's just where we're at. I'm really scared for this younger generation.
I know they have a lot on their shoulders.
Well, I think books like yours and the ideas and concepts of spiritualism and looking within, like I was telling her son, and the idea of reincarnation, these bigger picture things I want people to care about.
Yeah.
Did you decide to write this as a fiction to kind of reach people with this idea? I mean, is that why you decided to go fiction wise with it?
Yeah, because, well, first of all, I don't think of myself as any kind of expert, to write.
Right. We don't have the answers.
Yeah, to write a nonfiction book and say, this is reincarnation or this is spirit communication or some of the things that I've, experienced. What happened to me is when I got all this information, I felt like I had more of an anchor in my life. I felt like I was more steady on the earth, which is kind of what you're saying for the younger generation or for this guy in particular.
That's what they need.
They need something to kind of, to feel grounded. And knowing the things that came through really helped me to feel that way. So it pushes the noise out of your life a bit so you can live your life. And I wanted to share that feeling of, the continuity of life, how important that is to know that for your own self, that you're not going to just stop existing. Because when I was 25, when I was that age, I thought I was going to stop existing. And
So
I
you're,
was,
in the atheist point of view, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I was terrified of just the idea of death, and like I
Yeah.
said, I was raised Catholic. I mean, the whole idea of, that there was an afterlife.
That
but
would
it-
scare you of death too. Even if
That's
you were a
true.
straight on believer or Catholic, okay, I might go to hell.
That's right. And, and I was, like I said, I was an active alcoholic when I was 25 years old. And I was, made a lot of mistakes and, wasn't living my best life, but things change. You can change your life. And some of those things for me have been, number one was getting sober, just walking away from the substances.
Congratulations on that, by the way. I mean, more
Thank
power
you.
to you. It's I
Thanks,
know
I
that.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who've gone through it. The struggle is real, and it's always a struggle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's just it's a huge benefit. You can get to the other side. It's like you have a brand new life, a whole new brand new life, and so that in that new life, I needed to be grounded. And the way that happened for me was through this spirituality that started, before I knew I was a medium. It started with, prayer and little tiny bits of meditation, whatever I understood of that, and that helped me to kind of get my feet on the ground. And then later, it was after the times I was telling you about, like after my sister passed and this friend passed, that I started realizing, wait, there's more. This stuff is happening. I trusted myself more at that point.
Yeah.
When you kind of, have had a chance to get past that tumultuous part of your life. And
And
you
your
have to
20s are so tumultuous, aren't
They
they? I
are.
mean, so rough. And
Yeah,
I feel,
they're
like I
rough.
said, it's so much more rough for these 20-year-olds. I work with a lot of 20-year-olds, and
Ah.
I feel my heart goes to them. Like I know a lot of people want to pick on their generation as like all the things they say, but I get it. But that's not their fault,
They
okay?
didn't ask for it.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
saying we did this, as parents.
Wow.
to
I have a
them.
22-year-old, and I am so wowed by that generation. I can't believe the wonderful changes that they're bringing to this world.
Yeah,
just-
I mean, there's a lot of criticism of this generation.
Yeah.
And some of it's due, but I'm
Yeah.
sorry. They're they're the way they are because of us.
Yeah. And there are kids that are just knocking it out of the park. I mean, they are really changing the world.
Through all of that. They
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yep.
They're
Despite
they talk about the indigo children and like certain waves of special children coming here, and I wonder about that. I don't know if you heard my segment about my my 7-year-old. I saw him. I saw him as a translucent boy, like 10 years before he was born, or it was right before we were going to get married. So no, it'd been like 12 years before he was born. My math's wrong. But it was right. It was like the week we were going to get married. I was getting ready to move out of my parents' house. I'm sitting on my parents' couch, middle of the day, and I get this sudden feeling that I only have had once before, which was when I was going through a shadow person experience and being tortured by this thing, and I was saved by what I call God or the Force or whatever. Is this ultimate compassionate love, and I know something's there that has my back. Is this just total understanding, peace, the most peaceful moment I've had in my life is that moment of terror taken away and this force coming in and saving me. I felt it again in the middle of the day in my parents' living room, and I look up, and there's this translucent boy, looks like 8 or 9, maybe 10, walking through my parents' living room. But I can see his face. He's translucent, but I can see his features. He's almost little taking shape as he walks up to me, and he just smiles at me, and I felt that immense love. And then fast forward 12 years later, I already had my first son, Dean, but Liam's born at C-section, and they bring him out and they put him up to my wife's head, her face, and he smiles. And that smile, I knew right there when he smiled at me, that's that same boy that smiled at me in my parents' living room. I knew it then. And then when he was like 3, he told my wife, I chose you.
Yeah.
I chose you and Daddy.
Yeah, for sure. He was waiting for the right time.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And I'm hoping there, we need an awakening or a spiritual awakening in this country. Like, I think in this world, we need more people to think about these things.
I think we're actually having one right now. I'm seeing a lot of people waking up. There was something really weird with this last moon we had. People who don't normally even post about the moon. There was nothing significant about this moon. Nothing.
Liam was interested in this moon. That's so weird.
It's not like there was an eclipse, but and the amount of people that were also out there for the moon rising, which was interesting. So I picture all these people just walking out at the same time, depending on the time zone, and looking up at the moon. There's still people changing their banners to moons. Like
Liam got something from his teacher. It was a moon book this last week, and
There's
he
something
every night
special
was
about
insisting, "Can I go out and see the moon?" I'm like, "It's freezing, kiddo. It's snowing out. You can't see the moon." And he was like, "Oh," like he was like dead on wanting to see the moon.
And Jeff and I have had 2 really divine interactions this full moon, and then this time last month too, to where it's just there's no doubt in my mind that the universe, or whatever you want to call it, spoke to us. And I'm seeing all across the board people having these experiences right now, and I think we're definitely in the middle of an awakening.
Yeah,
a group awakening.
We need one.
I like the way that you're saying that as an awakening, because I am aware that there is a big wave of change in the world right now, and I do notice. I mean, just because of trying to talk to people about my book, that there's more and more people that are really interested in this stuff. Whereas 10 years ago, it was really like a closeted idea, mediumship, and particularly talking to people like channel spirit.
Almost like it was a trend.
Yeah.
With meditation and astrology, but there's so many people more interested, it seems.
Yes.
I said on last week's show with Wajid Hassan that we had on, I'm like, I almost wish, we were talking about awakenings and stuff. It's like I almost wish one night everybody would have a dream of every person would have a dream of their past life. That they would wake up in the morning and go, "What was that?" Like, you ever seen the movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks? It's all about the after. Again, another one of my favorite movies. It's all about the afterlife.
Yeah.
And they go to this reincarnation pavilion in heaven, or it's not heaven. It's like the purgatory before he has to defend his life. Blah blah blah. Yeah. But it's reincarnation pavilion, and I always forget the other actress that was in it. I can't think of her name. Devil Wears Prada. I can't think of her. She's in it. Whatever. Him and this woman. He's like kind of interested in the afterlife. They go in this reincarnation pavilion, and she sees that she was like Sir Lancelot in a past life, and he sees this African villager running from a lion, and another guy's in there, and he sees himself as a little girl and is going, "What the heck?" And people are seeing all kinds of stuff, and they're reacting and screaming, and you can hear all these people reacting to seeing their past lives, because they're most of them probably passed over not knowing they had a past life, for one. But I'm like, if everybody in the world just suddenly one night woke up, after waking, had this vision or had a dream of their past life, just to get people to think about the bigger picture, to know that there's more to this existence than you've ever could have imagined. I just want people just to get a little piece of that. It would change enough perspective in this world.
It would be a fun story. It's a good idea for a book or, a story at least.
One night, everybody has a dream.
Yeah, then the conversation's the next day. I mean, that's the interesting part, right? You
go
to
relationships,
work, or wherever the people you bump into, and you had this amazing dream last night, and then have the person, so did I. It would really shake things up.
Especially if it was their past lives.
Yeah.
Like, it was a dream of their past life, and then they would, like, go to work and find out their boss was, like, the guy who, like, chopped their head off in an execution or something, something, just the relationships between people. Like, I think a lot deeply of these ideas and these relationships. I've thought about these a lot over the years of, like, people that have been in my life or out of my life, and, like, what they meant to me, and that they possibly, I've known, like, I know, like, when I first, like, I love my wife, and I feel like we've had shared dreams, and I think we've definitely been in past lives together. That's a whole other story of a shared dream we had where we reversed the sexes in the dream, and she had it and I had it at the same time. That's a messed up one. So that's a messed up concept.
That's interesting.
But, so I know I've had past lives with my wife, but my first love, my first, like, real girlfriend I had when I was a teenager, I know the first time I really, like, noticed her, we were in junior high. I looked into this library, and she's sitting there, and I go, I know her. Yeah. Now, it did in fact know her. I didn't know that we were, like, 3 or 4 years old and ended up having a swim class together. Didn't find that out till later. And so did the guy that she ended up leaving me for. We were all in the same swim class together. So was my wife and her sister.
No way.
Were in there. Yes. And it was like this group of kids that all end up being connected.
Yeah, that's
See
cool.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though that ex-girlfriend is not a part of my life, I haven't talked to her in years. I feel, and I know some people are like, oh, you're a jerk, or something like that. But I think she's part of my soul group. We went through our 16-year-old. That was all planned. I feel like that was all planned for me to grow as an individual, for her to grow as an individual, to go on to our future relationships.
Yes.
These all have meaning. It's not worthless, these experiences. As much as the negatives that come from it, there's a positive. There's something. You are who you are by the roads you choose, by the experiences you have. That they mean something. It's planned.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not just one person and that's it for your whole life. It's not always, it's not going to be for most people, that it's just you have one soulmate that you came here with and everyone else is irrelevant. I mean, it's all part of our plan.
Now, I mean, it's like, people, have a loved one or a wife, like Art Bell. I'm a huge Art Bell fan. He had Ramona he would talk about. You could tell he completely loved his wife on Art Bell. If you ever listened to Art Bell back in the 90s, completely loved his wife. You can tell they had an awesome relationship. She passed away. It was horrible. He later on gets married to a younger woman in his 70s, Erin. And some people are like, oh, how could he? I thought he loved a remote. People criticize sometimes people moving on or getting in a relationship, especially an older guy getting a younger lady. But we have such a, like, one person with one person idea of things. And I'm not telling people to go out there and be polygamous. I'm not saying that.
I get it. Yeah.
But there are relationships that we're going to have and experiences we're going to have. I hope I grow old with my wife. That's my... if I can grow with my wife, no matter what happens, and I get to see my kids I have grandkids, I get to see that. Yeah. I don't care what happens. If I get all that, whatever drama or whatever concedes during all that time, when I die, I'll be fine. If I get to live that long and die, but things don't always go to plan. There's experiences I think that are planned out. In your book, it seems like they kind of like organize these things before they happen a little bit. How did you decide to, like, put that? I don't want you to give away. I'm trying to think of a way to do this without giving away too much of the story.
Mhm.
But what was your idea, or how did you come up with the concept of like two souls planning out their life? We got about let's see, we got about 10 minutes or so before commercial break. Oh, 8 minutes.
Okay. So it is a romantic partnership. So for me, that was the easiest way to tell the story. And not because it's the only kind of soulmate, because I really believe that there are other soulmates that are just as significant.
Yeah.
But the way I wanted to write it is that, that life is a collaboration. And I believe that's how it is. I think that when we're in spirit, before we come back into the physical world, I think we play a role in choosing where we go and why we're going there, and who we're going with. And I think that we have guides around us that are helping us to make those decisions. And why those decisions? And are there certain experiences that we need to have? Are there parts of us that need to grow? Certain people that we can meet that could help us on our journey, whatever it is that we need for our own soul. And so I have these two starting in spirit, and they've traveled together through lifetimes, and we learn that right off the bat. And the woman wants to be born again because someone who was her mom in a past life is going to have another baby. And she really wants to come and get to have the experience of being with this other soul again, with this mom that she's had. And her partner says, he doesn't really want to. He doesn't really want to go. He wants to stay. And
can't blame him.
Yeah, because they're in this really cool place. Like they have their own heaven, which is, they call it their white garden, and that's what it is. It's like this, they have this little cottage and this, in their backyard, there's this, magnificent garden that he's created for her, sort of like one plant at a time. Every time she finds something that's like, she loves white, she loves the color white and white flowers. And so every time they discover a new plant that, he plants it, he manifests it for her in their garden. And so it's just, at this point, so much time has gone by that it's this private, beautiful, it's a circular garden, and that's their heaven, and he wants to stay. And he says, but if you want to go, I'll follow you. And so he does. He follows her, and she goes to this family who loves her dearly. And he chooses a mom based on the fact of her physical location is close to his soulmate. And so he chooses a mom who is an alcoholic. And his guides are also part of this process, and they say to him, choose another mother. Just very gently,
Right.
not like they don't live our lives.
This is going to be a rough one, buddy, if you go this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that that's the messages that we've received is this, they'll give you soft suggestions, but it is self-will.
It's your choice.
So life is self-will. I mean, so yeah, you can't take your car and drive it straight at a stone wall and think, okay, my guide's going to step in. You can't live your life like that. It has to be, because our will is...
It's not totally predestined is what you're saying. There's choices we make. The roads are laid out, paved, but we have to choose which one.
We choose.
So I've always lived. Yeah.
So some things are going to happen, like certain people we're going to meet have been planned that are like more, permanent markers, so to speak, on the map. But, you're driving the car. So that's how I really wanted to start this. So
I love that.
Yeah, so this guy, Jeremy, his name's Jeremy when he's born, and he's born, he weighs like 3 pounds. He's born prematurely, and he has fetal alcohol syndrome, and he's just struggling, but he's extraordinarily intuitive, and he finds his partner. He's 3 years old, and he crawls underneath the fence to where she's playing in the yard, and they just immediately bond and spend their childhoods together, and she protects him. And she's, kind of has everything that a kid could want in life. She's super smart, and she's confident, and she's got this family that backs her up, and they kind of take him in, and he becomes one of theirs in a way. So it's this whole journey of like, yeah, they wanted to be together, but also there are problems because, there's just things that are going to go down, like in his life. Because of his mom's alcoholism. Like he gets taken away, put into, foster care. And so these kinds of things, It's a
I
whole
really got to read this book. I
Yeah.
got to read this book because this is stuff I think about all the time. I don't, Deep Thoughts by Jason Bland, like Jack Andy, but these are things I think about all the time about these relationships and how this works. How does reincarnation work? I've thought about this a lot. And I love that you're doing this idea because one of the things people say is like, I chose my parents. Yeah, you're effing kidding me, right? Or get that reaction from people when you talk to them. Some people's parents are completely awful.
Yeah.
Like to tell somebody you chose them is a hard pill to swallow for some people, but they don't understand all the dynamics that could be going on from the other side and why they did.
That's it. So yeah, I kind of like towards the end of the book, and I'm not going to give away any of this, but
Yeah.
there is this part where a lot of that comes out. So one of them is explaining to the other one, sort of like, and they're in between realms. I'll just put it that way, and explaining why things happened the way they did, and the importance of even things like Jeremy's mom, Belinda, being an alcoholic. Like in the end, she gets sober and she's helping people, and she reclaims her life and she becomes
She's on her journey too.
She's on her own journey, and yeah, that's it, and so, but to be able to step out of the physical world, and whether that's through a vision, which is what you're doing, I think is what's happening during a vision or those kind of dreams, is we're stepping out of the physical world and it shifts our perspective so that we're able to see all, and to have an understanding that you can't have when you're sort of trapped in flesh here. But there is a bigger picture. There's a bigger story.
That's what I love about this idea, and that's why I truly want to get this book. And so we're going to go to commercial break. We're going to open up the phone lines. When we come back, guys, just wait till after the commercial break to call in because I have it off until we come back. But call in tonight if you've had your own past life vision or experience, or maybe a regression. I've had Chris Lee on the show. Maybe you had one from him. Talk about your past lives tonight, your experiences. I'd love to hear them. Of course, are you having shadow person experiences or weird stuff going on? I am. Jamie is, I guess, and other people are. Maybe it's the moon. I don't know. There's something changing. And like I said, I just recently had this very mediumistic thing happen I haven't had in years. Like I get little flashes and things like that, but not as intensely as I did was get my hair cut the other day. Are you having these experiences? Let's all talk, find out what's going on. When we come back from the short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday at the live stream with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID Jblandoo or Jblandparanormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest is Kathleen Dayan. She is the author of Before We're Born. It's a fictional account, but it is about reincarnation and two souls, a kind of a romantic story of reincarnation, who choose their journey and their next incarnation and how that comes about, and how past lives play a part in our lives every day and affect us, who we are and what we really are. Deep down, I've told you about my visions before, my past lives on the show countless times. You're just probably sick of hearing it, but I try to get these points about looking at who you really are, that this is a persona you put out, this is a character, and there's something more deep down that makes who you are. Like I said, if everybody could have the visions that Kathleen has had or I've had and experience it, I think it would give them a bigger perspective of the world, a clearer understanding of maybe why things are the way they are. It's not that we have answers or know, but it gives us an idea that there's more to this life than the regular day turmoil or working every day, getting up, working a 9-to-5 job, raising kids, doing all that. There's something bigger. There's a bigger picture, and there's a lot more to the relationships you've had in your life. Even relationships with people you've not talked with in years meant something and still mean something. That all these things, what it comes down to is compassion and love. That is the ultimate driving force, I believe, in the universe. Getting into all that, deep thoughts by Jason Bland, Jack Handy, right? Phone lines, let me make sure they are open. They are open now. Call in, join the conversation. Have you had a past life experience? I'd love to hear it. Also, you can talk about if you want to add your 2 cents on weirdness going on lately. Like I've had some weird stuff lately, and Jamie has, and she's telling me other people in her life have. If you had, call in, join that conversation as well. But our guest is Kathleen Dayan. She's the author of Before We Were Born. Talk about reincarnation, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right, Kathleen, a lot more to talk about here. So, all right, phone lines are open, guys. Call in if you want to join the conversation. Let me get the banner up for the phone numbers. So, coming to that, like, the one thing I'm a little disappointed in myself is that I have the idea of these concepts. I like I said, I don't have a faith or any spiritual. I tell people I believe in Jediism, the Force. You know, really, and it comes down to it, like you, I don't choose a certain faith. I have these beliefs. I do believe in an afterlife. I do believe in reincarnation. I do believe these connections we have with people are extremely spiritually important, that there's so much more to people in our lives. Even a short experience with somebody, a passing experience could be a soulmate, you know, or a soul group person. You're only meant to meet them at that point in time for this experience, and they go their way, you go their way, but you have spent eternities doing this. There's so much love and compassion driving the wheel of life around us. That's what I love about the idea of reincarnation. I totally want to read this book. But at the same time, I fear death still. I still fear it, mainly and what will I say why? Fear of separation from my children. Yes. Even though I know we'll be together again, right? It doesn't leave me. And I'm disappointed in myself a little bit with that.
But why? I mean, I have the same. I feel exactly the same. I don't have that fear I had that I described earlier of just, you know, terror of not being, not existing. But I hate the idea of leaving. I don't want to leave. I have 2 daughters and 2 grandbabies. And that's the last thing I want to do is head over.
Yeah.
You know, I want to stay in the physical world as long as I can.
Yeah, it's like there's something here that you just can't have over there.
Yeah,
right. I mean, is that it? I mean, so I struggle with this.
Well, there's a separation, you know, and that's the hard thing. And that's actually the wonderful thing about spirit communication and the fact that it's becoming more prevalent because it takes away that separation. I mean, you don't have the physical. I have had the sense, I think, similar to what you've talked about a little bit about that sense of love around you, of God love or something. And I've had that feeling from a spirit holding me, and I can feel the love that they're sending me. But you don't have their hand in your hand. You know, It's not the same thing as, you know, being here on the earth plane and sitting across from one of your boys and having a conversation. It's not the same.
Right.
So, I mean,
we got to take phone calls, I think, here because my lines are blowing up. So we got already get 2 people on hold. Are you ready to take calls?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. They're already. I got. By the way, people, if you're calling in right now and it hangs up on you, I only have 2 phones with 2 different ways to call in. So if it hangs up on you or goes to voicemail, just wait for somebody to get off the line and try calling one of the numbers again. Right now, first caller in is Zach. Hey, Zach, how you doing, bud? Again, my condolences for losing your mother last week, bud.
I appreciate that, brother, and thank you all to everyone also that reached out to me and my family. We do greatly appreciate that. I'm just very glad to be here this evening to spend time with the awesome Paranormal Soup fam.
We're glad
I am very blessed. I just have one question, and then I'll go ahead and I'll share a past life experience on that.
I wonder what you
Kathleen, it's very nice to meet you.
Hi.
So my question goes back to when the characters in your story, when they're planning out the life that they're going to live, what role does free will play in the process of setting up the life that they're going to live?
I think it plays an important role. I do see it as a collaboration. So I don't think it's I think there's guidance, and as much as we want to take from that, I also think that something else that plays into this is in between lives, we spend time with our guides and people helping us to understand the life that we just lived. So it is like a life review that happens so that you are able to sort of elevate to your really a higher self, your higher sense of self after having lived because of the experiences that you just went through and learning these lessons. So you're bringing all that to the table. But yes, I do think that we all play a role in it, and I think it's guided.
Okay, and so many people have heard this experience before when I talked about my past life experience. So it happened when I was having a dream. I was in a dark room. I didn't know where I was at, but I could feel a gun just pointed at the back of my head. And I remember just saying, make it quick. I hear the gunshot go off, and I fall over. I lose all movement. I'm down on the ground. I feel someone pouring gasoline on me, and I can tell it's gasoline by the smell. And then I hear someone light up a match and then light me on fire. And I can feel just the whole sensation of being burned.
Oh my God, that's awful.
So, and Jason, do you want to add?
Yeah, I'll add. So when he first called into the show and told me this story, I'm sitting there going, okay, when I was a teenager in high school, I was part of a 3-hour class that was TV production class, basically. Yeah. I would make short films for it. And I went to Columbia College later to try to get into film. And I made this one short film that they ended up playing on the public access that got them in a lot of trouble. I called it The Red Lighter, and it was like this kind of David Lynch kind of thing. But it starts out with this scene pretty much as he describes it right there.
Okay.
Literally these gangsters setting this guy on, shooting a guy and setting him on fire. That's like the first scene. I remember getting gasoline and setting a dummy on fire. Wow. Yes, that was the first scene of this movie I made when I was in high school. They ended up playing it, and they had like somebody doing heroin and a hooker. It was awful. This is why, if you're a teacher out there that does film, review your student stuff before you put it on public access. You might lose your job if you don't, because that's what happened to my teacher. He almost lost his job because he just put it on public access, and then who else watches it? It's just seniors calling in like, "What was this?"
Oh no.
It was pretty bad. But Zach called in, and I'm like, dude, oh my God. So maybe me and Zach, I've never met. He's in Arizona, I'm in Indiana, but he's been one of my first callers into the show for the last 7 years. We have a connection, obviously. Yeah. Maybe we have a past life connection. Maybe I shot Zach and burned his body.
I can't experience. I can't
relate.
You
laugh about it.
What can you do now, right?
I mean, the pain part of it. I mean, I can't relate to it because I haven't had a past life thing where I've actually felt pain. I mean, that just sounds awful.
You didn't have like the overview thing like I did when I was saying I was being beat with this stick. Like I could feel it though. Like it's like I could feel the whole horror in the situation and being beat and the blows. At the same time, I'm seeing it from above.
Yes. That's how
Did you have that, Zach? How you were just like physically there, feeling yourself being burned on fire? You would be already dead. You were shot.
Yeah, no, it's like I could, but at the same time though, I could feel just like I said, the gasoline being poured on me. I could smell it, and then just being lit on fire. I could just feel being burned all over. I mean, it was so crazy.
Maybe. We were both the gangsters, and you were being made to feel how we burnt somebody to death, and I'm just guiltily making a film about it.
Or the bullet just went through and didn't die, so he was burned alive.
I don't know, Zach. It's one of those weird things I don't know, but I'll never forget when you first called in and told that story. I'm like, thinking, I made this whole short film that was just exactly as you described that.
Yeah, that's wild.
I know that took as well. After I first told it, you shared your bit. I'm thinking, holy cow!
Yeah. Paranormal happens live here, people. Well, thank you, Zach, for calling in.
Absolutely, everybody. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for answering my question. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night. All right, we got, I think it's Adrian on the line. This is Adrian?
Yes, it's me.
Hey, Adrian.
Yep. How you doing, everybody?
Doing good.
So I got to laugh because I was a hitman in one of my past lives.
See? Oh, my God, look at this.
Fit right in.
I'm serious. During the time when you would have, like, the gas lights on the street corners with the, enameled street poles. Yeah, I was in a striped suit and everything. But one question came to mind, and any of you could answer this. If you know where your headstone was located from a past life, would you go visit it?
Yes. Would you, Kathleen?
I don't know. I'm thinking about that. Yeah, I think I would. I think it would be cool to see. It's such huge confirmation.
It'd be weird. I thought about it because when I was 9 years old and I just moved into a new neighborhood with my parents, I was watching television. So this was back in 1969, and I didn't know what I was watching. I turned on the TV, and it was the whole scene with Giles Corey getting rocks piled on top of him. And I said, oh, my God, that's me. And he started saying, more weight. And I'm like 9 years old going, yes, more weight. Oh, wow. I'm pretty sure I was him in a past life. Yeah, I just totally believe that since I was 9 years old. And I obviously would know where his grave is. He's in Massachusetts.
You should totally
So
go see
that's
it.
I've been thinking about it. It's weird. First they said no, then I said yeah. Then I'm like, no.
So
I'll figure it out.
Where is it in Massachusetts? That's where I am. I'm in Massachusetts.
I'm pretty sure he's in Salem.
Yeah.
Salem?
Yeah. So, one of my other past lives, I had a guide tell me. It was the daughter of my main spirit guide. She's the keeper of my records. And I wrote down pages and pages, so it's too long to tell, but it did take place back in the time of the Roman tax collectors. But I was on the outskirts with my parents. I was a boy. And they had captured me for a while. And I got away, and I ended up going on my own and finding a woman who was trying to repair her own roof, and I helped her thatch her roof, and then we stayed with each other and had kids. And it was a really long story.
Wow.
And I ended up getting a whole family tree out of it, too. I wrote all the names down and where we traveled to. And some of the names, we ended up in France, like that area. There was names like Bibadou and Harnais. And I started looking up those names, and some of them are connected with each other.
Wow.
It's like really, really strange.
I don't think you've ever told me this, Adrian.
No, I don't think we've ever gotten into my past.
That's
life.
really... So,
yeah,
was this all
my,
from a dream? Or, I mean, where did you get all the information?
No, I have notebooks full of communications with my guides.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that back in the 1990s, and I didn't think it was real, and then all of a sudden I found out many of the things my main guide, Eldris, was telling me was true. Like, I'd never heard the word, universal energy before, and different words like this. They were all new to me, and I was like, oh, my God, oneness. I said, oneness? What's oneness? I found out that's a real thing. I found out 10, 15 years later. So... yeah, her the keeper of my records. I didn't even know what my records were, but apparently they're my Akashic records.
Yeah.
So, lots of things really fell together during all my writings, but maybe someday I'll bring my notebook down and...
I'd like to. I actually would like to hear some more of that story someday. What you were told in this light. I mean, it sounds like you were given a lot of detail.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd take about probably 5 minutes to just read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's lengthy. So, but that's about all I got for now. I mean, I have other little snippets of past lives But being a little girl picking herbs and being accused of being a witch.
When I had my Chris Lee regression, when he did my regression for my neck issues, I had a vision of being this woman, like in the 1400s, I think it was, imprisoned for being a witch. And they had a chain around my neck, and my hands were totally crushed from them basically smashing my hands, and I ended up hanging myself with the chain around put a chain around I took the chains I was in and used it and put it around my neck. That's what it was. And hung myself. But I was a woman, I'm saying, isn't it weird? Like, you have these, like, for me, that was like a guided thing. But when I had the vision of being a little black girl, I was that little black girl. I was like, it was just totally perfectly normal.
Yes. I was able to do my own, and another one I had, I was in the way up high in a castle, and I was brushing my hair. It was really long and honey-colored hair, and I wasn't very happy. Apparently my husband at the time was some aristocrat, and I was along a trade route. I could look down, and it was almost desert-like. You could watch the caravans and whatnot along the spice routes or whatever they had going on there. And what's weird is I ended up marrying him. He was my late husband. And he never told me his middle name, and I said, "It's Bernard, isn't it?" He goes, "Yes, I've never told anybody." And the husband in my past life I just described, his first name was Bernard.
Oh, wow.
So it was like an ancestor, father. Yeah. And when the first time I met my late husband, I looked at him and I said, "I know you." Probably from a past life. Yep. That's what I was referring to. Yep. Yes. It's for real. And one other thing I wanted to add in, because it did cross my mind, why we get our memories wiped out. A long time ago, our DNA was altered. We used to have a lot more strands activated.
Yeah.
So all these talents that we should be able to learn from our experiences have been cut out of our development along the way. And the only other way to compensate for it, probably to balance things out in the universe, is to have many lives and guides.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't get a chance
maybe
to
there was time in our past where we did remember all our past lives. I don't know, and that was changed.
And we probably lived a lot longer to develop these abilities and things. But, all right, that's about all I have to add for tonight. But great show so far. Enjoying very much. Okay, have a good night.
You too. I saw Ziriana. I saw you said you're trying to call in. Phone lines are both open. Give it a shot. Try to call in. But man, it's amazing she would get that that kind of information about her past life. There's some people have tracked down their past lives. There's famous cases of that. Have you ever looked into some of those when you were doing your research for your book?
I did. Do you know the story? I'm not going to remember his last name. It'll come to me. About the little boy, the fighter pilot. That's the big one.
Well, that's one of the most famous ones. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because he was able to track down so much. Like his best friend. Do you remember the name of his best friend who was also a pilot? And, the kind of plane he was in and, the boat that the plane took off from. I mean, he had such, solid information. His dad in this life actually took him to a reunion.
Yeah.
But the other fighter pilots that had been, involved in that same.
That's so awesome. Did you see him? He was on Ancient Aliens. They interviewed him as an adult.
Oh, I didn't. Oh.
Yeah, and it sends every time I catch, because we go to, me and my wife say we go to the Church of Ancient Aliens. But every time I'm going to try really quick calling back this number because it might have been Ziriana. Let me see if let me do that really quick. But he describes the whole thing again. He says, I still, like, a lot of it faded from him, as it happens with children. But he says, I do remember the dream that I had, that he woke up screaming from, say, little man down or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's frightening because he says, he describes the plane going down into the water and everything just going black. And you can see he's emotional. Maybe it's TV and they're like, give us some emotion, but it really feels real. Like, he's still feeling that that's the part that scars him, and the whole everything just goes black and there's nothing. That's what he says. So, like, he's sadly with that experience missing maybe the in between part. You know.
But then I did hear him say, well, this is of course, not when you saw him as an adult, but one of the things he told his dad is that he saw him when he was on a beach in Hawaii, he and his wife. So the kid's mom and dad, and he said, "I saw you. You were staying in a pink hotel on the beach."
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about. See, I think he forgot about that. He says he doesn't remember a lot of the other stuff.
And then he chose. He said, "I knew you were. I knew you'd be a good dad." Yeah.
He was, and what a good dad he was, or he
Yeah,
is, because I always praise that guy for listening to your child, listening and being interested in this experience, and not writing it off like I think a lot of parents do in this situation.
Yeah.
And then exploring it and doing the research. His dad's awesome.
Yeah.
He did pick a really good dad.
Yeah, he did. Great.
I got somebody else on the line here. I had to call back. Who do we got on the line?
Hi, Jason and Jamie. It's Azariana.
Hey,
How are you
Azariana.
tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for calling. Well, me calling in, me calling you back.
Yeah, thank you. Two things. I have got fragments of many of my past lives, and I've written them down. And I still get, I got a couple of new ones that I've written down too, and I remember, And I always make sure that I write it down so I can remember it, Yes. And what I do notice is that a lot of my family members, we reconnect in every life, whether my husband is my child or, the roles and sexes are reversed, and things like that. But, it's kind of, I find it kind of awesome. And,
it is, isn't it?
I'm always learning something from it,
Mm-hmm.
And, some, obviously some are more stronger than others, past lives, and some are very traumatic, but I just find it awesome. And my first question would be, I kind of believe that maybe we have lessons to learn from those lives. Maybe we can't change it, but we can learn something from the past and bring it forward into the present life. If that sounds right. And then I'll tell you my experience after that.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I think that's part of why we're here. I think part of it is really, to enjoy these experiences with the people that we love. But I do think part of it is, we're learning stuff as we grow. It's evolution.
Okay. Excellent. And I wanted to share an experience that I had tonight.
Go
ahead. Jamie was talking about the moon and the different experiences that are going on, that people are watching and things like that. And, anyway, I was with my family tonight, and we heard 3 times in the house people actually having a conversation. And my child has seen shadow people in the house and on the property. And we tried to debunk it tonight, and we checked the house, we checked everything that could for conversations, TV and radio, things like that. But we couldn't debunk it, and there were obviously, I'll have to look into this further. But I was just trying to say, since the new moon or full moon, that there's a lot of weirdness going on, and like I said, this place, doesn't have, it certainly wasn't invited, and I've been seeing some shadow people, and it's just really weird. I wanted to connect with Jamie and you with that.
May I ask what it looked like to you? How can you describe it? The shadow part.
Well, I see like a black mass just go by. It's like you're looking one way and it just like goes in front of you.
Oh, so you're able to actually see it straight on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell if it's male or female, but but like I said, but she's seen it and she told me, and then I've been seeing it. I saw one in my dream, and I've been seeing them, waking during the day and stuff. So it's been kind of weird. And like I said, the moon, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Different things,
How would you describe it during the day?
It's almost like someone goes through and blocks the light.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just my experience recently was the other 2 nights ago, getting up, going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 a.m. and I got the door closed in the bathroom, and I hear footsteps go right past the door of the bathroom, and I can actually see the shadow of the 2 feet go past the bathroom. Everybody else is dead asleep in the house. I did not sleep well that night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, we tried to debunk it.
Mm-hmm.
Checked everything possible that could be on, that could, that could be, a voice or something. And it was definitely a conversation. And I wasn't, it doesn't scare me too much, but it's just definitely new. And it's just all this stuff that's been going on,
Can you tell what they're saying?
So, it was in a kind of like a gravelly. It was a male. It was a male voice, and it was kind of gravelly voice,
Yeah.
And I couldn't actually tell the conversation. I couldn't actually get the words, but I know it was gravelly,
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to be coming from one part of the house, and then it came, and then we all looked at each other and said, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And we were going, "Yeah, okay, we're not crazy, okay,"
Yeah.
And then it seemed to go to another part of the house, and we were like, "What is going on?"
Mm-hmm.
And and we're hearing conversations, and then I was told that she's been seeing shadow people, and she doesn't know who it is, or male or female, but it's been happening, and like I said, from the moon, since this full moon. So I don't know, but we did try to debunk it, and we couldn't debunk it whatsoever, and it was kind of definitely a new experience. So
It's interesting.
I did want to share that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. And everybody, blessings to your families and everybody.
Thank you,
Your
Zarian.
children and everybody.
You have a great night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I saw Heather. Josh, I want to get to Josh's question in the chat room, Jamie, here in a second. But Heather, what did Heather say? She said, "My mom saw a man in her mirror the other day, wondering if it has anything to do with this moon." Like, I'm wondering if people are having, like, certain, I've always said that I think some of these things are very, It's the same number. Sorry, getting distracted by my phone. Some of these like paranormal events happen due to atmospheric moon phases. We've always talked about it as a paranormal investigator for years. Like, do these things affect? And like, could there be something right now globally going on where people are having more experiences? It'd be great to hear. I wish I had the size Art Bell had. But I miss Art Bell so much. He used to have such a huge audience, and he'd say, call in, let me know. Like I'm doing. But he'd get all. I mean, I love my college, but he's got 60 million people listening in the middle of the night. You get all these people calling in. It's like the shadow person thing came about that way. People calling in with that same experience. We need that, like Coast to Coast now only has like 500,000 listeners, I think, on average. Like we need that he would just have everybody listening in that was interested in this idea. We need that again. Not saying it's me, but somebody. I want to get
atmospheric river going on right here in California, and it's supposed to come back again tomorrow or Tuesday.
What is it?
An atmospheric river.
What is atmospheric river? Ooh,
I think it's just a new thing that.
Yeah. Josh's question here is, so what about when people escape death, like Final Destination? Why is it that people can escape multiple times? Why does somebody have a near-death experience, I guess, maybe kind of the question. Like, is your death prearranged, or, that comes up. Like, you're going to die this way. This is the way it's going to be.
I don't know about that. I think that the soul knows when it's going to pass. And I think that also there are different exit points, because I've noticed that too with people. A lot of times they will,
given the choice.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah. And in even like you were saying, the near-death experience, people come back transformed, and then they're ready to stay on this path.
That was like a wake-up call.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, near death, that is a wake-up call. I think for most anybody, but not always. But
yeah,
a lot of times they're like, we've had people on that talked about it, or callers that they're given a choice. Like, you can come with me, or you can go back. Other people are not given a choice. A lot of times they're told, this isn't your time. You need to go back. Like you're meant to get this glimpse, but you're not staying. You got to go back. Like it is their destiny to still go back. It seems a little mix of both.
It probably just depends on where you're at on that journey. If you've already accomplished the things that you set out to do, and you have a near-death experience, and they say, listen, you've done well. You've done the things you wanted to do. You can stay if you want. I mean, it seems to me that it's more along that line. It's not a sentence, being in life.
Yeah.
We're not sentenced here. The soul's going to depart.
But you can a lot of people do feel that way. And I've felt that way at times, And of course, I really look back and go, God, you're such a, I have it good, compared to other people that are really suffering in this world. You can't blame them for feeling like I've been sentenced. This is suffering and this is horrible. Like, why would I choose this? That's the hard pill to swallow when it comes to reincarnation for people. Like, why would I choose this? We got Christina online. We get to in a second, but what I would, I've always thought about it is I'm a big reader. I used to be a big reader. I don't having kids and busy life. I don't get to read like 5 books a week like I used to. But in fiction, I always loved becoming the character in the book, feeling their feelings, and being a part of it. Even like in my youngest days, my mom would read Secret Garden to me, I became a part of those characters, and the emotion and the feeling that's what we're doing here. I mean, we're doing a choose your own adventure book, but we have to become those characters and feel those emotions and detach from who we really are for a little while to enjoy the experience and live the story and to learn. Because I've learned things from books by living those characters' lives. That's that's the best thing I can equate it to. I think it's Christina way out online. How you do tonight?
Hey, doing really good, Jason. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, you're welcome. I thought I'd call in tonight and kind of touch base on what Jamie was talking about a lot of weird things
Weirdness
going
afoot.
on. Shadow. Oh, yeah, the shadow people. Mine was kind of like a gray. And it was still daylight, and went past us so quick at the front window that my dog reacted at the same time.
Oh, so your dog saw it too.
Yeah, Katrina Cooper and Rhodey Speak has spent some time here, and Katrina actually was telling us that there was quite a few spirits that were hanging out here because it used to be an old orchard and logging road, and that my dog was reacting to spirit. And I said, well, how do I get her to calm down? Because sometimes it's kind of annoying, you know. I mean, I hear spirit. I don't typically see them, and I don't hear them a lot. I've had 2 NDEs as a child, and I didn't want either one of them.
But lately you feel like the activity's picked up?
Yeah, and when Jamie was mentioning about, oh yeah, the moon, and I go, well, that's funny that you mentioned it, because I said I was out like a lunatic taking photographs and videos because the colors were insane.
I know, man. That moon was, I mean, the first full moon, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that is super big, it seems like. You know, like there's something different about it. Yeah, I felt that way too. And ever since, like the last couple days, I've been having a lot of like I said, like just picking up on images and people and things that I've not felt in a long time.
Yeah, getting little messages from, yeah.
Plus Saturn's
And
going
you are really, go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, she
Also-
froze up. Okay.
And with that, a lot of childhood memories are.
Oh, Jamie's breaking up a little bit, but yeah.
Childhood memory stuff's bringing back old wounds.
Emotions, yeah. That's what I feel like.
Her internet. Yeah, her internet's really acting up, and I think it's spirits playing with her.
She's trying to say something really important. You're back, Jamie. I can see you nodding there.
Yeah.
If you want to try to say what you're saying again, because I think it was really important. But,
we kind of been chatting a little bit today about this, about how a lot of energy is bringing up old wounds that haven't been healed yet. So for those people that are experiencing are going through some really hard times, just know that you are loved, that you're people that love you, that people have passed over, they're all around you.
Yeah,
because I hear them. Yeah, I hear a couple of people in my family that have been telling me, hey, and I go, straw, and then I hear, I love you. So, yeah, sometimes it's a little scary, but yeah, put up your protections and say your prayers, and we'll all get through this together. But Jamie's also hitting a lot on the weather issues. We've had the last 3 Fridays in a row, we've had huge storms. Snowstorms.
Is anybody else? My question is, I've noticed other people. I noticed another friend on Facebook who's a Gemini like me and all that. She was complaining about her sciatic nerve and her hip pain and lower back. I'm like, God, that's me too right now. Sometimes I think we all get the same kind of pains and stuff too. Like I've been dying since the full moon.
Inflammation's really.
What is that, Jamie?
The pressure change. It'll
Is that
affect
what it
our
is?
brains, make our brains feel like it's swelling.
Like you see me sitting like this, like I'm doing this because my sciatic is killing me.
Yeah.
My lower back's been killing me for days.
The barometric change.
Yes, Jamie's spot on about that. And the fluctuations is really hard on people with arthritis, fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's killing me. But sometimes I wonder if it's like the energy going on, you know, like we're feeling the energy of the earth plane or something. I don't know.
I think
it can be.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird because I saw somebody else. I know this Facebook friend that posts a lot of similar stuff as me, and we definitely like think along the same lines. She's a Gemini, and I saw she posted and she had the exact same pain I am. I'm like, is this a Gemini thing? You know, like oh my God, I am dying, just like she's complaining of dying. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, Jason, I feel you because I got ankylosing spondylitis.
Since last weekend, right? Yeah, Debbie said mine too. Yeah, see. Yeah.
I'm a Pisces, so my birthday's in 2 days. So
happy early birthday.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna get off the line, give other people another chance. But great show tonight. Awesome guest. I can't wait to read your book. It sounds amazing and reincarnated life. I've had a couple of past life experiences, and one was with my dad who had committed suicide, but I had done it in another lifetime. So it was like a learning thing of what not to do. So, yeah, we're here to learn on many levels. So I will get off of here. Great show. Everybody take care. Love and hugs.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night. Bye, Christina. You know, but I was talking about what dreams may come. She mentions that, and what dreams may come. Robin Williams' wife in it commits suicide over the loss of their children, right? And the Eastern version that didn't release in the West, it's in the DVD, if you had that or whatever extra thing. The Eastern version they released had the whole reincarnation thing. And in it, I thought this was beautiful. She's told that she's gonna to get over what happened. You know, he gets her out of like her own hell, kind of. You know, I love that movie, What Dreams Become. He gets her out of her own like inner hell that she puts herself in due to what she did. They kind of make. Only I don't like. They kind of make it sound like she's destined to be there. There's no way he can save her. I didn't like that part, but that's kind of how the story had to go. You know, and he saves her and brings her in. And they say to get over this, she's got to go back. But she's got to go back as a child who's going to pass early, so she knows life is precious. Because she sacrificed her life, and he chooses, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
And go through it. It's like they got to go through this drama together and he's going to go there to help her. And I thought that was so beautiful. I'm like, why we got to be stupid and not have that as the ending here in the West, you know?
Right.
You know, I think we're getting closer and more people opening up this idea, but this was in the 90s. You know, for What Dreams May Come, so it was probably a little too early for that, but I thought that was a way better ending. It like got into the deep reasons of, you know, like why we come back, you know, and What Dreams May Come, okay, they're just going to be in heaven now, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't know there was that extra version, and that is super cool.
Yeah.
Because there's resolution. It's you know, it makes sense.
And people wonder why, you know, people do die young and things happen. I mean, you know, you can't tell somebody who is suffering from losing someone, especially somebody young, a child, any of these things. It won't help them. But it does give you an idea of maybe what is going on, why this is happening, you know, why we have some of our destinations are very, you know, our time here is very short. It's just part of that lesson.
Right.
Maybe we didn't appreciate life in the other life, and it's just part of that lesson too. You're going to get a short time here, so you know what it is to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. It's hard. These are all really hard concepts for people.
Because when we're here, we're so entrenched in the lives we're living, it's hard to have that distance where we can look at it, you know, like the little glimpses that we're given, you know, in these visions or dreams. You get that vision so that you understand, oh, this is a bigger picture, and what I'm suffering through right now is just one little piece. But when you're just in that suffering and that's all, how do you see past it? You know, I mean, grief is, you know, it's unbearable, you know, and it's a process. I do
but
think
it's somehow part of the lesson.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing I think for any of us to comprehend. I still can't. I still can't comprehend it as a lesson. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying if I lost my child, there ain't excuse me. See how that brings that out of me? Break my own rule. But screw your lesson, you know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
That's a tough
we
one.
can talk about it subjectively, but when you get down to the actual living it and the life of it, you can have all the concepts in the world that isn't going to save you from
right.
it. You know, there's something about being here, no matter what you believe religiously or spiritually, that it doesn't matter. When you're going to feel these emotions, you're going to live these lessons, and you're going to suffer. You know, that life is, that's one of the Buddhist concepts, that life is suffering. You know, and it's not to mean that we're all supposed to be in some kind of living hell, you know. I just that, you know, this can't be luxury and good and everything's just going to be fine. Look at the most rich, famous people out there. They all seem very miserable for all the money they have.
Yes.
You know, look at their lives. They all are hot messes, you know, and I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, because they can't enjoy being that rich. That, you know, they gotta. It's their own different journey, I guess. I don't know. It gives us poor people some condolences. Like, at least I'm not that hot mess. I just got to go to my work every day.
Yeah.
Pay my bills and worry about that, Like, oh, poor Meghan Markle and her prince, they just lost all their money. Like, boo-hoo, you want to think. But
I know.
if we, but at the same time, they are human beings going through their own struggle, their own journey, just like you. No better than you. You're no better than them. They're just a different path, different lesson. It's like the humbling factor is what I'm trying to say here. Is like you should be humbled by these ideas and these concepts and these experiences. We should be humbled. Know that we're part of something greater and bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. I mean, the vastness of all this.
Right.
Is like, I can't get my arms around it all, and I don't think I will ever as a human. Just like walking around the earth, I don't think I'll get that. I don't know if it's possible for any human to get it.
No.
It's vast. That's all I kept thinking is, this is big. It's so big. Like, just the only prevailing truth that keeps coming back to me is what you said earlier about love.
Yep.
It all comes back to love, and love is that love is the answer to every question. It's like, in the end, that's what saves you. It's what, you were struggling, and that life force, whatever it was, came in to be with you, and it was love.
Yeah.
That brought you back.
It in that moment, and I know I've said on the show, but I will preach it to the end of my days. In that moment, when I was being saved from whatever this dark force was, this entity that was attacking me, I didn't hate it anymore. At that moment, I felt everything I'd done in my life that I was insecure or regretful of, and I was only, 18. But, short period of time I'd lived here, I still had a lot of stuff. All that was gone. Doesn't mean that I still didn't, that I was perfect. What it was is that I got your back, and it's all right.
Yes.
Anything, doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter what this entity's doing to you, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It's all part of something greater.
Yes.
And I love you no matter what. That's the feeling.
Yeah, unconditional love.
Yeah.
That's
the
what
closest thing I can picture is like to that feeling is when my grandmother would hold me when I was super upset, or my mom. That feeling of that I don't care what you just did or whatever. I love you. That unconditional love that your parents. And now as a father, I understand that.
Yeah.
It's a force. That's what I call it, a force. I don't picture a god or an entity that's judging us or doing any of that. I picture of this energy, this force, that a wave of love that created the universe and is continually creating and trying to bring something together to us to ultimately understand this concept of love.
Yeah. We're moving in the right direction, even when it doesn't seem like it. I mean,
it doesn't seem like it. It just really does not seem like it right now, Kathleen. It really does not seem like it. I hate to say. See, and that's where I'm like manic. I feel like sometimes, like lately, like I'll have like these moments of like I did with that lady cutting my hair, of like complete compassion for this lady and love. I don't know her at all.
Yeah.
But at other times I work retail and I have this complete like loathing of humanity and like. And it's not just retail. I mean, just watching the news or reading what stupid stuff people do, and that's why I hate social media anymore. It's just like at the same time I can flip on a dime and just completely hate being a human and hate humanity for how we're acting and what we're doing in the world. Like it's like I flip on a dime, going to love and boost this compassion for everyone, to like screw all you stupid people, screw all you.
Of course.
Like I got a Festivus pool right here, and I'm going to air my grievances on all of you. I am so emotionally lately turmoiled in that area. I don't know. Maybe it's the moon. I don't know. But it's just the world is crazy, and I feel like we need more of this love and compassion.
Well, that's all you can bring to the table. It's like it's what we can each do individually is bring that to the table. I flip-flop on it too with like humanity. I can't even believe. Like for me, it's like a lot of it is about animals and how animals are treated.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on that. Oh my God,
that's a hard thing.
I had one the other day. Somebody locked their damn dog in the car and died in our town. I like
Oh my gosh.
people.
That's the
Like,
stuff.
like,
And they're just people just put themselves above the rest of the living beings. And that's so wrong, and that's the thing I struggle with the most. But then I see things, like I know social media, like for me, my favorite things on Facebook are the animal stories.
The good
And
ones,
someone
yeah.
today was like, oh, this woman saying she found a mouse in her basement and the mouse was injured and all the stuff she did to make sure this mouse was kept him in her house and, fed him all winter and then, let him go in the spring. And I'm like, wow, people are good, It's like
Yeah.
they are. It's like there are a lot of really good people doing a lot of really good things amidst all the darkness, amidst the
Yeah.
chaos and the horrible news. There are still people who are stepping up, and those are the heroes to me. The ones who are like
The rose
shining
in the
that
rubble,
light. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all we can do. I think the biggest lesson I think we're trying to learn in life is that you can't change the world. I
Yeah.
tried telling this to my dad, who was like screaming at the news and the TV, and I'm like, just stop.
Yeah.
Like one time we were having a conversation because we don't agree on a lot of things politically or anything like that, but I hate politics in general. But he was going off all these things of the world and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, can you change any of that? Can you control any of what those a-holes are doing? No. All you can do is what's in your life and the people around you.
Yeah.
And if you can just one day, every day, try to do something kind for somebody, a stranger especially, just be kind. That little effect could ripple and affect the world. If everybody made a conscious effort to do that, we could change the world. Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my favorite Buddhist writers, his favorite book is Peace is Every Step.
Mm.
It's in the little things you do in your life and the choices you make. And if you want peace, you have to give peace.
Yes.
You can't expect peace to happen if you're not going to give peace yourself.
Right.
And I thought it was the simplest, wisest things anybody could have ever said.
Yeah.
It could change the world if we all tried to just a little bit to grasp that, and I myself included.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like I said, I work retail, I work with people, and I generally like meeting new people. That's my favorite part of the job is talking to new people and getting to have conversations, and even if it's just them shopping and us talking for a few minutes, I like it. I like that part.
Yeah.
But then there's other people that just make me hate the world.
Yeah.
And then the news. The news is the worst. Just so many things. Like people, like I don't want to be part of this human race. It's like I'm struggling. I'm spiritually struggling, like with that, and at the same time, I humble myself and go, well, are you perfect? You're sure as hell not. We all have our journey, I guess is the best we can say. All right, we're going to our last commercial break, and we will have the phone lines open again, guys, when we come back to this commercial break. If you want to call in, if you've been experiencing weirdness, I have. Jamie has. Our callers, people in the chat room I see tonight have. Tell us your story. Have you had a past life experience? I'd like to hear that. We've heard some great ones tonight. Where's my music? There we go. We've had some great experiences tonight. I'd love to hear more for our last half hour. When we come back from the short commercial break with our guest, Kathleen Dayan, author of Before We Were Born. We're talking about past lives, reincarnations. We're getting more into like what the soul group thing is too, about how we might have these like an extended family on the other side is what I think of as. It's awesome. All right, when we come back from the short commercial break.
Intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated. I will hear all this.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it. But to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all. But he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday at the live stream with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up.
Do, re,
Be gone.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444.
or 260-225-9419. Or by Skype caller ID oojblandoo or Jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest has been Kathleen Dayan. She is author of Before We Were Born. We've been talking about reincarnation, soul groups, life's journey, deep thoughts by Jason Bland, right? And also talking about weirdness lately since the new moon. I've had some weird stuff happening lately. Jamie has, our callers tonight, guys in the chat room. Seems like something's happening. Maybe it's just this phase of the moon is affecting us. I don't know. But if you're having an experience, you can call and talk about that too. Like I said, I love hearing about the past life experiences people have. Join the conversation. We still have a little bit of time left in the show, but let's go ahead and get back to our guest. Thank you for hanging in there with me, Kathleen. I know it's getting late your time, but we got about a half hour left.
Okay.
One thing when to get out, what's your website? I don't have that in my notes.
Oh, it's my full name.com. So it's Kathleen with the K. I think you've probably got it there. Kathleen, and then Reddy is READY, and then my last name is DAYAN.
Oh, Jamie, you shared that earlier, didn't you, probably, in the chat room?
She may have.
She may have. She's freezing up. Sorry, Jamie, but yeah, I think she did there. Yeah, shoot. Her net we were worried about, and it lasted most of the night, but now it's got her frozen. Sorry, Jamie. Well, anyways, so future plans, are you going to be writing more in this genre kind of line?
I am. So I am right now writing a sequel to Before We Were Born.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have another book coming out in December, which is separate from this series, but the one that I'm writing is going to be about these two people in their next lifetime.
The same characters from the first book?
Yeah, the same
That's
souls.
awesome.
Same souls, but different persona, so they'll be playing different roles in their
new roles, new stories.
Yeah, new stories.
I always say I believe in the fractal idea that of smaller things on a small scale are mimicked on a large scale. Like the idea that I think we do that in life. I think that's what creating stories has always been about for authors, is in their way of. And for video games, like in a video game, you get to play as a character, as an avatar. You get lost in that world,
Right.
That we mimic this in some way in our lives, in our society and culture. The what's kind of as above, so below kind of thing,
that's you're right. It's interesting.
Yeah. I just see it in ways that we're mimicking it in a sense, and I also fear. That we're losing touch with it sometimes, though, when we get into things like transhumanism and the ideas of creating like an artificial afterlife. There's a TV show I've talked about on this show called Upload that came out on Amazon a couple years ago. And then they don't get to reincarnate. They upload themselves to a virtual hell. It's supposed to be heaven, but it's like a virtual hell,
Yeah.
It's like, you're missing out maybe one of the greatest adventures,
Right. Huh.
That's what it seems like to me, is like, the part when I try to convince myself not to fear death, right, is that when my day does come, I am going on a new adventure. And for anybody I love, that's what they're doing. But it will connect again in some other time. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah. Absolutely. That's really, that's the big thing. If you can remember that. There's a quote in the beginning of my book. Have you heard of the Native American silver birch?
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
So he's in spirit, but he had a medium that he used to speak through. And he's got really cool stuff. Like there's some really cool silver birch things. But I chose this quote because I think it's so true. This is really kind of what I took from the communications that I've done. And this is what the quote is. There is nothing in your world or mine that can part those whom love has united. Love, like life, is stronger than death. love, like life, is the spirit, and the spirit cannot be destroyed. And that's what I think. That's what I believe. And that, that one little, snippet that he spoke through a medium, it's that. It's like that's, our spirit loved ones they still exist. They still love us. They're able to express that love. Um, I know you have to sort of be tapped in to feel that or to understand it. But I am starting to see, it seems like more people are feeling tapped in. More people are sensing their loved ones around them. And yeah, I don't know. The veil is thinning, they say, and maybe
I feel
it's
like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like something like, and lately, like I said, I've been in this teeter-totter between like feeling that, like feeling the compassion, feeling that force, as I like to call it, a force, to the moments where I'm drugged back into the material world and
Yeah.
damn humans, you know.
No, it's not
Yeah.
easy. But
It isn't.
but we're not perfect, and we're not supposed to be. We're never gonna get it right.
Yeah.
Not really, not 100% right.
I remember when I was in my 20s and I got like started getting into like the spiritual side of things, and I was like getting into Buddhism and all this stuff, and I'm like, why doesn't everybody? And then I grew up. I'm saying, life hit me. I got married and had I
Yeah.
had kids. I'm like, this is why people can't focus or get into these things. Get off your high horse there, buddy, because life.
But
It's like,
you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the story of all of us. We don't know what we
Yeah.
don't know.
So I learned not to judge people for their ignorance of this stuff or lack of curiosity of it, even though it drives me nuts. I just don't understand how people don't think about these things or want to look deep into these things. I've
Yeah.
never understood it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've been fascinated with this whole world,
Yeah.
the other side, since I was a little kid. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't concern you. You're going to die.
Yeah.
Doesn't. I mean, for me, it was a childhood friend that was killed in a car accident, I think, because I saw
Wow.
her ghost. I saw her spirit. I mean, I saw stuff before then. Like, I talked to my unborn sister. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that till
Yeah.
way later. But I had a lot of weird stuff. But this experience, childhood friend, we were in kindergarten together. She was a next door neighbor, died in a car crash, and I saw her after the crash in this fort I had built.
Wow.
And I was haunted by her parents. How devastated they were. They'd left her room the same. They left her bike where it was outside. And her mom once was staring out the front door, and this haunting ghost-like figure she was, just staring out the door. That made me not want to ever have children.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't want to experience that loss and their suffering. And I felt all this as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old.
Yeah, that's intense.
So I guess I started thinking about death. That's when I realized I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And it never left me. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I had a point in my life where, like, in my 18, 20-year-olds old, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to die. I don't give a crap. I'm going to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Then you have kids.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And I start having panic attacks. And, life is a journey.
Isn't it? It keeps
Oh
on
my
changing.
God.
Depending on, where you're at. It's all different.
And I have to care about the world again. Like,
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s, like, yeah, apocalypse is coming. The society's going to fall apart. This country's doomed. I'm going to sit back, smoke a joint, watch it burn. Heck yeah. 30s, have kids. Dear God, people, wake up! Wake up! The world's on fire! It's like, God, life is a journey.
It's a trip.
Mhm. It's just crazy, like, like I said, becoming a parent, how it changes you and your perspective and your care. Like I said, in my 20s, I was selfish. I don't care about, you didn't even care about myself, honestly. I shouldn't even say I was selfish, I just didn't care. Apathy. We have a lot of that problem still with 20-year-olds, is this apathy. And it's worse than it was for me. And that's why I feel like we need this. We need your book. We need this inner reflection of what, there's so much more to this experience. We could get that wake-up call to the younger generation.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of us in our 30s to 50s to 60s are, I feel like, just talking to people, doing this show, that's my age group here, that we're having this wake-up call. Baby boomers to Generation X.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the younger generation is.
You know,
I'm a bit worried.
They're awfully young. They are. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we've seen almost, I don't know, to use the word decline is a little strong, but of the like traditional religions, it's changed. It's changed over the last 10 and 20 years, where people are stepping outside of that and looking for something more on their own, more individualized.
They don't want the dogma.
No, and just having it handed to you and say, here's the rules, and this is what we expect of you. And if you
I think some people do want that, though. Some
Yeah.
people like that. There's just certain personalities and the way people are built. They want that structure, and that this is how it is. And I know people like that. We all do.
But there's not room for growth, and that's the problem. Yeah.
And that's, and then there's some people that on the opposite side of all that, anarchy. There's no rules. They're my 20s, basically, screw the world, like the apathy part of it, like none of this matters, or the nihilism, it's stuff that just I see in society that I'm like, we need this spiritual awakening. I feel it like it's happening. I doing this show, meeting the people I do has been awesome. 7 years of just awesomeness of it. I don't make money doing this. I do this because I love doing it. And these the people that are a part of it, like Zach, he's one of my first callers. And we've had, we had that weird experience of maybe a past life together. I don't know, but there's connections I made. I'll never regret. And the biggest part of doing this show, but I feel like there's so many more people that are getting caught up in the wrong things now. And society, we're getting more divided, and it's like there might be this growth of spiritual people like us, me, you, and everybody listening here, and other shows people are listening to. But are we a growing minority to starting to grow, or I feel like there's a lot of zombies, is what I'm saying out there. A lot of people are just checking in every day and just rolling through life without any self-reflection.
There is, but I was surprised how much interest there was in the concepts that I'm writing about in my books. I really, how many radio shows and podcasts there are, and cool people like you guys that are talking about this regularly.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Like I said, though, I miss Art Bell. I want somebody. Yeah. I'm not saying me. I'm not trying to say me. I'm just saying somebody out there. I will applaud the person and cheer them on. If somebody could get on and get that big of an audience again and get people talking like Art used to do, and get people calling in, and like the Shadow Person experience was a big Art Bell thing, like people calling in, yeah, I've had that, like comparing notes. He had such a large audience and people's interest at that time period. The 90s, it was kind of like its own little spiritual awakening time. That's like the New Age movement grew, and you had Art Bell every night, late at night, sharing these experiences. And now it's like all diluted between little shows like mine and the internet and YouTube channels, and people's attention spans aren't 3 hours. Like I've been told, don't do a 3-hour show, man. Stop doing a 3-hour show. Just do some 10-minute videos and you'll get a lot of viewers and you'll get a lot of subscriptions. I'm like, I don't do it for that.
Yeah, because there's no conversation that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no knock on George Norrie. I think he's probably a wonderful person. But I can't listen to Coast to Coast and him because all this question, it's not a conversation. It's not like what Art would do. Right. He's a typical radio. That's the way he does it. That's his way. But I want a conversation. And that's what I do a show live for. But it's also a forum for these guys, for everybody watching. They've made friendships in these chat rooms. That's what Art Bell used to have, the website. And people would, there's a lot of drama, but but people made relationships and friendships through that. Connections, soul groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming
together on a shared interest. Like Jamie said, this is my church.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a beautiful way to see it, because it's how we grow when we talk about these things. It helps. Like for me, I have to talk about something to fully understand it.
Yeah, got to talk it out, air it out, and that's why I like doing this. We all are sharing the data. We're all sharing the experiences.
Yes.
And it involves my idea of reality every day.
Yes.
Every time I do a Sunday night show, with a guest like you or any of my other guests, and they've all had different perspectives. I've had the religious dogmatic perspective on here. I mean, I've had, probably the only perspective I really haven't had. Well, no, I mean, I've had some people maybe have this perspective, but they really talk. And it is an atheist perspective that there's nothing.
Yeah. Because
That's the hardest one for me to buy.
There's nothing to talk about
Right.
either. You know what I mean? If somebody says this is just what it is, if it's just to me, it's. I think everybody should be able to think what they want. So I'm not trying to force any beliefs, but just to say,
I feel
there's
bad.
nothing. To say there isn't anything, it means your mind isn't open to anything else.
And also, I would think it would. I've never understood it, because I've never had that perspective. Even I grew up in a household that was with a dad who's very scientific. I wouldn't say atheist, but kind of atheist, and a mom who got into Buddhism. I was left on my own devices to discover anything, but I never started out with the perspective that there's nothing.
Right.
I known from my earliest memories that of seeing like a green floating head with my cousin and things I've seen and experienced that I know there's something. What that something is, I don't know. Are we eternally going on? I don't know. But I've seen my grandmother now after she passed. I've had. I feel I do know my grandmother and my other family members are there with me. One of the even a beautiful experience like this. Like I had an uncle on my dad's side. I told you my dad left. I had no relationship with him. Made the relationship with that family strained. Like even my grandfather.
Yeah.
He had dementia, and I didn't get to see him his last years of life. I didn't see him a lot in my life. We had a weird relationship because of my father, and especially when he had dementia, he would see me and think I was my father. They had a strange relationship,
I see.
I'll never forget my Aunt Melanie telling me, because she was in the nursing home with him the day he died, she'd always roll him up to the window to look out. She rolled him up to the window, he looked out the window, and he hadn't talked in 2 years, and he just laughed and said, "Life's a joke." And a couple hours later, he actually passed away. Wow. That's after 2 years of not talking. That statement, "Life's a joke," bothered the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Then my Aunt Tammy's, that's my uncle. She's married to my uncle, whatever. Tracy had drug addiction, heroin. He overdosed and died. A year later, she gets in a car wreck from alcoholic driving, dies. It was a very bad, troubled family.
Yeah.
And that I was still bothered by what she had told me about my grandfather saying life's a joke. I had this dream. And I always, like I said, felt disconnected from this family. My dad, mainly, I had this dream. And I had a vision, a guided meditation that led into a dream of my grandfather. And we had our own thing where I saw him across the stream and he was telling me his regrets. I had that experience.
Yeah.
But after my aunt Melanie died, I had this dream where I was in this house, beautiful, beautiful house, very bright lit, beautiful. And I would go over to their house. It was never like that. It was very dingy and, and not all the time. I mean, it's not that they actually had a really interesting house at one point. But this was like a whole new house. And there was all these people there, but their family. I know these people are family, and Melanie and Tracy are there. And I had a lot of regrets and angst with my uncle because of how he lived and things that happened. And he was the closest thing I knew of to my father. So we had a lot of angst and all that. But in this dream, it was so real. I was a little kid again, but I knew I was still me. And they're all there, welcome me in, let me know you are a part of this family.
Oh, wow.
On the other side, my Uncle Tracy wanted me to know that in this dream. I woke up from that dream crying.
Oh,
I feel like that was their way of letting me know, you were always disconnected, but you are a part of us.
That's a beautiful dream.
And it helped me get over a lot of my angst towards my uncle. I went, this is right, before his funeral. Like it happened right after he died, or she died. Sorry, when she died, I had this dream. But it was like at his funeral, I was really upset. She saw that, and I think right after she died, she came to me soon. She gave me this vision.
Yeah,
because she could tell she had her issues.
Right.
She was trying to let me know because it was Melanie invited me into the house, and there's my Uncle Tracy, my grandfather again. I saw him there. It was like the whole bland side of the family that I always felt disconnected with, like just that one vision.
Wow.
So, is that my soul part of my soul group? I feel like soul groups could be immensely big.
Oh, I think so too. I think it's almost like I would think of it as like a friend. How we have different friend groups for different of our lives. I think it's like that. Not so tightly defined as we might think.
You only get 12 people in your soul group. Like, that's the kind of stuff I've heard. Like get that stuff. I'm like, you don't know that.
No,
I don't know what it is.
Right. I don't know. We're very big into defining things, and
Dang humans.
Yes, it's that again, you know. I think
Get my Festivus pole and I'm going to complain about all these things. But yeah, that's why, you know, me and you, we don't belong to any religion. You know, it's like, I don't want to put, even like my shadow person experience, be like, that's a demon you dealt with. I'm like, I don't know what that was. It was an evil dark entity that ripped me out of my body and astrally traveled and showed me things that I shouldn't know and knew everything about me was evil. It was evil, but demon, I don't know. That's your Judeo-Christian thing you're putting on it. I just want to understand why it happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I've come to some terms with it, but I still to this day wonder. Wouldn't be doing this show without it though.
Were you sleeping when it happened? Like, how did it?
It would get me every night, and sometimes I was wide awake.
Yeah.
There was time I was outside smoking a cigarette, and this thing walked right up to me. This was when it appeared like the kind of what people describe like the Hat Man. One of the times it looked like that, I was like wide awake. I was smoking a cigarette outside, sneaking a cigarette. It was in high school, and this thing walked right up to me.
Wow. That must have been terrifying.
It was a very terrifying. I thought I was losing my mind. And it's one of the reasons, like I said, I do this show, is I wanted to give a place where, and I immediately wanted to have phone lines so people could call in. Like, if I'm doing this, I want a way to do it live. People call in, let's talk. You know, I know I'm only going to get 5 or 6 people, but someday some people will start calling in, like Zach did. But I wanted to do it to give people a place. Let's talk. I'm not going to judge you. You don't judge my experience. I'm not going to judge your experience. Let's talk about our experiences. Yeah. Let's get this out there, because I felt I had no one to talk to. And that's why I always loved Art Bell.
Yeah.
I never did call into his show, and I'll be a big regret of my life. I never did. I was too scared. You know? It was like Art Bell. I can't talk to him. But I would listen to all the callers, and it was just such a great thing to me. Like that's how I discovered I had my shadow person experience. I wasn't alone. There's other people having the shadow person experience. It was in the 90s for me, and that's when he was getting all these calls, and I'm like, that's why I started listening to Art Bell.
Yeah.
You know, I had just turned an 890 on, it was a WLS here, and I'd hear the radio, and I hear somebody mention shadow person. I'd listen to Art here and there, but I remember it started coming across people talking about shadow people. I'm like, what is this? What is this? Because this is like what I had, you know, and made me not feel crazy.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it does. Having an open forum is important, you know, because especially, you know, some of this stuff, it's not, we don't really know about it. There's no way to really, you know, track it down and understand it fully. So being able to talk to other people about it is, I think it's healing.
Yeah. It's understanding, it's healing, it's just trying to understand this experience we call life more. Because like, we, you know, people get into such materialistic things about life, but there's such more of an experience happening that nobody wants to talk about. Like, I always feel honored when somebody shares, like, a loved one comes across to them. Like, I'm a paranormal investigator. People tell me about their haunted houses. I love it. I love the ghost stories and all that. But the ones I feel honored is when somebody says, like, my grandmother passed and then I saw her, or this thing happened, or, you know, this loved one that comes through. Because I've had that experience with my grandmother. She died of Alzheimer's. She came through, showed herself to me at my work in the middle of the day of her wake. You know, when people share these experiences with me, I feel honored. Like I'm getting something, because this is a special event in their life that I think has purpose and meaning, and it's showing you the biggest value of life is love.
Yeah, it is.
And these connections.
Yeah, and the connection, even on the other side, it's still connected. Yeah. You've had a number of people come and show themselves, so you're clairvoyant. You're able to see a lot.
Yeah. When my like I said, like my mom, when I was a little kid, she went to this medium, and she tells my mom, she goes, you know, the little girl your son's talked to. My mom told her nothing. And she's like, yes, because I would say, bye, little girl, when we'd leave the apartment and all that stuff. She says, that's your unborn daughter.
Oh, wow.
And my mom had a miscarriage on another marriage before me. I remember a little girl. I remember talking to her. To me, I thought it was a real little girl. My mom was telling me the story about this medium. Like, well, there was a real little girl. She's like, there never was a little girl that played with us at that apartment complex.
Wow.
But I remember being in an apartment. She's like, there's never any kids that played in the apartment with you. Yeah, like, so, you know, I was talking to a little girl. It was my unborn sister.
Yeah, you've been tuned in from the start.
And it's all random to me, though. You know, I don't have any control. Like, if I want to read somebody, I don't think I just I'm going to do it here. I know.
Yeah.
I don't. It just happens randomly.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it's always been. And I just feel like lately it's been a lot.
Mhm.
Like when she was bringing up the whole like something's shifted or changed or there's been weird stuff going on. I'm like, yeah. Like I'm just getting a lot of, I feel like, stuff from people.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with.
I don't know. I mean, I think you didn't tell this woman that was cutting your hair.
I just told her what my advice was for her son that was coming, which, like I said, I felt like I had this person tell him to go to church, you know?
Yeah.
And I just turned it into, he needs to look inward and get into spiritual, something spiritual, or even
Yeah.
just going to a therapist and having a conversation with somebody and just getting it out
Right.
there, looking in, working on him inner self, is what my best advice. While I have this like lady in my ear, in my head, just like, it's not, I'm hearing a voice. I'm not. It's my own inner voice, but I hear this, he's got to get some church in him, like, like, no, well, I'm not going to say that. And when she typed in, well, my mom was always big about telling you needed to go to church before she passed away. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That explains that.
Yeah.
What do I do with that? I don't know. I just gave her my best, like this one. I'm like, this one probably thinks I'm crazy because I'm like telling her about her son and like, he's getting all these prescriptions and all. That's fine, but that's just a Band-Aid. You need to like. I'm like, why am I telling this person this? It's not my business. It's not my life. But I had all this like love and compassion for her, a stranger.
Right.
Like my heart broke for her and what she's going through. Like I can feel her sadness.
Yeah. You did it out of love, and I think that's the right thing.
Yeah. I hope she didn't watch the show tonight because I told her about the show. I said, I do a show. Just we were talking about spirituality and all that. And I was like, I get into these topics, I'm like, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
But even if she did, she's just going to know that you cared about her. And that
I got to go back there and get my hair cut again eventually.
Yeah. She'll be stunned and excited to hear that her mom came through.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't ever want to be that person. So, like, I mean, like my friend Katrina Cooper was mentioned on the show. She's an excellent medium. And, like, she just tells people and she just goes with what she gets. And she's amazing. I could never do that. I don't know. Because for me, things are too random. I don't know what is right or wrong, or what information I'm getting could be right or wrong. I don't, I'm just not that kind of person. I'm uncomfortable with it. Like I don't like having power over other people, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't trust myself. Well, Kathleen, you have been an awesome guest. I got to read this book before we were born. And then when do you think the sequel will come out?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
It's going to be 2024, I guess, because 2023 is it October or December of next year? I have another novel being published, and it's so that's going to be kind of, part of.
Is another fiction like the other novel?
It is, but it's so it's kind of based on some of the stuff we were talking about, different spiritualities and whatnot. So it opens up at this woman's funeral, and she's 40 years old, young woman, passed away from cancer, and she has had her body cremated and separated into 12 vials of ashes, and her wish was for the people closest to her to take those vials and bring it someplace that would honor their relationship. So that was the basis of the book, and then as I started writing it, I ended up bringing. So it was supposed to be one chapter per vial. I thought it was a book that would write itself. It didn't end up that way, but
it did write itself, just not the way you thought.
Not the way I thought. That's it. It wrote itself, and got me out of the way. But anyway, so each one of these people has a slightly different spiritual slant. Either they're there's all different religions and different represented, and so it's really kind of delving into like. How influenced are we by our spiritual and religious beliefs, and how that makes a difference in the relationship. And in between these, each chapter, there's this woman's journal entry, so we get to know what she thinks about them too. Mm-hmm. So it really is about like how do we find common ground, with
that's really important right now. Nowadays, we need a lot more trying to find common ground with people.
Yeah, so that's kind of what that book is about.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Kathleen. Definitely would love to get you back on the show some other time. We can dwell more into your medium abilities and meditation and maybe some of the things you do to, I guess, channel or do the, get into more of that aspect. I know we got a lot of the reincarnation. I couldn't help it. I love the topic. So thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Jason. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You were awesome. All right, guys, that is it for the show. We will be back next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel, with intuitive Tiffany Warren. She has a YouTube channel called Soul Stories. I've been checking it out. Some really great content there. We're going to bring her on same bat time, same bat channel next Sunday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Keep sharing, telling your friends about Paranormal Soup, the place where the paranormal happens live in an open space and forum where we can all join together and share all this weird experiences lately and compare notes. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great night. See you next Sunday.